Today's guest is Clyde Bosch. He's an Orthodox Christian and a former Marine. Today, we discuss how he survived an Osprey crash while in the Marine Corps, his rise into the mainstream of social media due to his commentary on Israel and the genocide in Gaza, his work with Dan Bilzerian and Andy Frisella. We dive into Israel and its influence in American politics and more. Today's guest, Clyde Bosch. Dude, thanks for being here, Clyde.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
How'd you start from the Marine Corps to now getting in kind of the lane you're in, kind of getting into the public eye?
Yeah, so I got out of the Marine Corps in officially January of 2024. I took my terminal leave in November of 23. So I've been out since November of 23. So a little over around 2 years.
Do you miss it?
Miss the clowns, not the circus,
Yeah.
as they say. I miss the boys for sure. Some aspects I miss. A couple of those years in the Marine Corps were like the best years of my life that I don't think I'll be able to top in many ways.
How so?
When I was a Marine security guard doing embassy duty, those 2.5 years were probably to date definitely the most unique.
Mm.
I don't know if I can say the best years of my life because there's, so many different aspects to what I do now and the life I had back then. Obviously, at that time, I wasn't Orthodox, so I can't say it was objectively the best moral period of my life, but it was a very unique period of my life, and did that for 2.5 years, and then I was in the infantry for another 2.5 years in Camp Pendleton, which had its own ups and downs and pluses and minuses. But yeah, you were a corpsman, so you know how it is. You miss the boys. You don't
Dude,
get that camaraderie anywhere else.
and I feel like the farther it goes, because I got out in 2021, like the more time passes, the more you look back and like, oh, it was all great. But then if you really sit and think, like, oh, dude, it was mostly shitty.
Yeah,
Like,
it really was. In the moment,
yeah.
it's mostly shitty, but then you look back and you miss it. Or even like going to the field. I remember going to the field and just getting my my dick slammed in the dirt, as we used to say, on a field op or something, and hating every moment of it in the moment, but then looking back and laughing on it and reminiscing on those good times with the boys. So yeah, it's kind of like that. And I liken it to high school or college years
Mm,
where it's a very finite period of your life, but in the moment you don't think it's going to end.
mhm.
But then it does end and you'll never get that experience ever again.
Yeah.
There's nothing that can replicate that. If you go
And
to
it's
college, there's nothing that can replicate that. In the military, there's nothing that can replicate those years. That's your one window of time to enjoy those years.
mm.
And in the moment, you want it to end, but then when it ends, you miss it.
Dude, and it's crazy because it feels like a second life. Like,
Oh,
you look back and
totally.
you're like, "Dude, I can't believe I was fucking doing that at, like, 19."
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I had a top secret clearance at 20.
Mm.
I was dumb at 20. I was I was
Yeah.
I was a retard at 20. I
Yep.
was not uh I'm still kind of dumb, but I was way more dumb back then. And the government just, here's a top secret clearance, go guard our embassies overseas for a couple years.
Dude, and, like, with the medical field, it's the same, like, crazy. Like, on my deployment, I was 20, and our doctor was like, "Hey, if you feel," because we 'cause we're working on Iraqis whenever we're in Iraq, so, like, they would get hurt, they come back to us, we patch them up, send them out to Baghdad, and they're like, "Hey, if you feel comfortable doing something, go for it."
Yeah.
Like, medically, it's like, "Hey, if you think you can do it," like, the scope of practice was like, "Go for it." And I'm 20 years old, and so these guys are like, "Hey, you wanna, like, help me with this chest tube? Yeah, stick your finger in here." And I'm like, "Dude, I am not qualified for this."
Yeah, having like a 21-year-old squad leader in charge of 12 guys on a patrol and you're in charge of the 12 guys' lives. Um, and using that discernment whether you should be engaging or not or what. Yeah, it's crazy. Looking back, like I'm 27 now,
Mm,
and 27 is kind of a weird age. You're 29, so I don't know, you probably remember when you were 27. It's like kind of this feels like this in between phase where I'm still in my 20s, I'm still young and learning things, but I'm almost 30 and I feel more mature in a lot of ways. But at in your early 20s or when you're 19, 18, you think you have everything figured out, but then when you get to 27 or 29, you're like, I was really dumb back then. Um, So it's interesting to look back on those years and see the person I was back then, which is a very, very different person, honestly.
Dude, it's funny because we're probably being like our mid-30s and we're like, dude, I was so fucking stupid at 27,
Yeah.
29.
Yeah, no, every single year I feel like a different person. I feel like even last year, I've been doing this for a couple years now, what I'm doing now with social media and content. I feel like the version of me 1 year ago is still very different than I am today.
Mm.
Um,
And so you were in Osprey Crash
yeah.
while you were in.
Mhm.
So did that have any impact on your decision to get out, or walk me through what happened with
No,
that?
I had 6 weeks left when I got in that crash.
What happened?
So, it was, my last deployment. I was on the MRF-D in Australia, in Darwin, Australia. Did you deploy as a corpsman?
I did. I wasn't on a muse. It was like a special MAGTF. So we just went straight over to Kuwait and Iraq.
Okay. So my unit did that the year before. They did the special MAGTF. And then we went on to MRF-D, which is the Marine Rotational Force Darwin deployment in Northern Australia in Darwin. And so on that deployment, you're basically the closest force in the South China Sea if anything pops off there, but you're also training so that your skills aren't atrophying. It's not like a MU where you're on a ship and you can't train. So we train a lot on that deployment. And so we did a handful of big exercises. This was the last one of the 6-month deployment. And it was a big dynamic exercise, joint force exercise with the United States Marines, the US Army, the Nepalese Gurkhas, which is like their special forces, the French. I think there were some Brits there. We had some recon elements there. Who else? I think the French, if I didn't mention them. But it was a big dynamic exercise, joint training op. And so what we were doing, what my platoon and my company was doing is we were flying because we were in a helo company. Um, so I was in 3-1 Lima company, and we were flying from the northern tip of Australia in Darwin, from the RAF there to a remote, like literally remote island, like 15 minutes away off the coast. And when I say remote, it was an island that was still inhabited by the Aboriginal people. So Australia has Aboriginal people, the native people there, especially in Darwin. You have a big population there, and then up on this island, um, it's the Aboriginals.
Mhm.
Like there's no real infrastructure. That's just where they live. They just live in like huts in their
You're just
own.
doing live fire drills on
Yeah.
the
So the Australian government kind of protects and watches over the
Mhm,
island, but it's still kind of sovereignly the the Aboriginals' land.
mhm,
So we flew up there and we were supposed to be on the island for like 5 days. And so we get in the Osprey uh, at the RAF in Northern Australia. And we're helo company. So I've flown in helicopters plenty of times before. I've flown in Ospreys and 53s and Hueys and in all sorts of military aircrafts. Never had an issue, never was concerned or worried about it or nervous. Always thought it was like cool and fun to be in them. um, and so, have you been in an Osprey?
I have, yeah. The one last time I remember, I was in it, and it was, like, leaking oil, and I was, like, looked at my flak, and there's, like, a oil splatter all over my flak,
Yep.
and I'm like, "Dude, is this normal?" And he's like, "Yeah, it just leaks."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Dude, what?"
Yeah, like the red, oil, it's kind of
Mhm.
like has a red tint to it. Yeah, I still have my camis are still kind of, waxy from that. But, yeah, so we get in the Osprey, and this was a pretty full flight. I don't know how full the flights were that you were on, but this is like every seat's taken.
Mhm,
There's 22 Marines, 1 corpsman on board. And so if you've ever been in them, you're crammed in there like sardines. When you sit down, it's like a little bucket seat, very uncomfortable. And just to paint the picture, we have our flaks on, so our full kit. We have our M27s. We also have a machine gun section with us. So there's machine gunners. I think there was a couple mortarmen, and then 1.5 squads of riflemen were in there. And then we had our XO and 2 platoon commanders, and then a couple squad leaders and a section leader or 2 section leaders. Um, so very full packed flight, and like I said, this is like a 5-6 day op. So we have our main packs, our rucks full to the brim. I have a Carl Gustav at this time, so a big giant rocket launcher attached to my flat or to my ruck, and then I've got my M27. Everybody has all their gear, so it's a lot
Mhm.
of gear per person,
Right,
and
super loaded down.
yeah, super loaded down. And the way the seats work, if you haven't been on an Osprey, is it's not like a commercial aircraft where you sit behind, row by row behind. You sit facing inboard on the walls on the left and right side of the aircraft. And so you sit there and you're just crammed in like a sardine. The dudes next to you are like pushing your shoulders in. You got your rifle in between your crotch. Your packs are pushing up against your knees, and the floor in front of you is just full of packs and gear.
It's almost as bad as Spirit Airlines, almost. Yeah.
Frontier is worse. RIP Spirit. I
Oh,
miss
yeah.
them.
Yep.
Budget aircraft, budget airline.
Dude, Florida, Tampa, Miami, Orlando is a lot less busy now with
Dude, I had
Spirit
I
out.
had $400 worth of airline credits with Spirit. It's just gone now.
What? Damn.
Yeah, but yeah. So worse than Frontier, worse than Spirit. Very crammed in there. And so just to paint the picture of what it looks like, and where I'm sitting is, if this water bottle is the aircraft, and this is the front where the flight crew sits, the pilots. I'm sitting right about here.
Mm.
So this is the back hatch. Sitting right about here towards the back on the right side. And so we get in, we get buckled in, and because we're flying to an island, we're flying over the ocean for about 10 minutes. So we have to don these life vests. They're little rinky-dink life vests that have a air tank that has about 5-10 minutes of air in the tank. In case you do go into the water, or you crash in the water, you have to deploy the air tank,
Mm.
shed your gear, which they gave us training on before the deployment. So basically, they put
The
you
Helo
the
Dunker?
Helo Dunker. Did you ever do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for anybody who hasn't done or seen the Helo Dunker, they take the body of an aircraft like an Osprey, and they hook it up to a crane, and then they put it in the deep end of a pool, and you sit in it, and the crane spins you around and kind of shakes you underwater, and then you have to unbuckle yourself and shed your gear and swim out and do the training, and then also use the breathing apparatus.
And then the last iteration of it, at least for us, is like you have blackout goggles
Yep.
on. So now you have to just have your touch points and like work your way out
Yep.
and also not climb over the dude in front of you
Yeah, yeah.
because people are like fighting to just get through
I
the
thought it
door.
was fun. I'm a pretty good swimmer,
Yeah, it was
and
good.
so I thought it was really fun and cool, except for when water just goes up your nose,
Mm.
because they intentionally have you do uh, this one rep where you put your head back, you kind of like put your feet on the side of the deck, and then tilt your head back so you can get used to water being up
Mm.
your nostrils, which wasn't fun, but the rest of it I thought was cool. Um,
Yeah, bro, it was like a day at the pool. It was sunny.
yeah, it was a day at the pool. I feel like James Bond going through the training.
Yeah.
But they do the blackout goggles, which was kind of stressful, but yeah, it was cool. So we had that training, and so we get on the bird. I have my life vest on. I'm in my seat, got my seat buckled up, and before we take off, I just feel this like weird feeling, and I've tried to explain it before, and it's I really can't. I really just can't explain the feeling. Uh, I guess the best way to explain it, I've used this terminology before, is it felt like the angel of death was inside the bird.
Mm.
It was a very dark, palpable, eerie, profound feeling that didn't just wash over me, but like consumed me.
And you started feeling this as you were walking on board or like walking
Once I
across?
sat down, pretty much,
Okay.
because you get in, you got to get your gear situated. It's hard to
Mhm.
find your seat buckle and get it on with your gear.
So something inside of you was, as soon as you sat down, telling you this is not like other flights.
No, yeah, yeah, it was really weird, and I couldn't explain it. I didn't know why I was feeling this way, and I've heard other veterans, like my my company gunny, one time told us a war story. When he was in, I think, Afghanistan, he was a squad leader, and they went on a patrol, And, long story short, they got caught in an ambush, but he said and he lost, like, 3 of his buddies in that, attack, in that ambush, but I remember and he was telling us this story at ITX. So ITX is this big training exercise that all grunt units have to go through before they deploy. It's like 6 weeks out in the desert in, uh, on the base in, 29 Palms in California. And, this guy was super salty gunny, had seen some stuff, had done some stuff, and I remember him telling that story, and the way he told the story was before they stepped, um, off on this patrol, he had a feeling. He had a weird, eerie
Mhm.
feeling that he had never experienced before, that he just felt like something bad was gonna happen, and he couldn't shake it the whole time on the patrol, and then lo and behold, they got ambushed and they lost some guys. And I've heard other stories. I've heard other people talk about stories where they have felt the same thing, where they've just felt this like ESP weird sensation, weird feeling.
Mhm.
And for the longest time, I could never explain that. I still can't. As an Orthodox Christian now, I wasn't Orthodox at the time when I was in the Marine Corps, but it's given me a little bit more of an understanding that there's really more out there that we can't fully explain,
Mhm.
like intercession of the saints or apparitions of the saints, right? Like that's something I can't explain. Nobody really can. We can't really explain like the veil between this realm and where the saints are now.
Mhm.
And so I've tried to kind of understand that more. And coming into Orthodoxy has somewhat helped me understand this concept or this ESP feeling a bit more. But still, I can't explain it. All I know is at the time, I just felt something was really wrong about to happen. And even before we took off, and then we take off, and the feeling doesn't subside, it gets worse and it becomes more profound. And like I said, I'd never had any issues. I always thought flying was cool on helicopters. And so we get up in the air, we take off, and we're flying, and I start thinking in my mind like of daydreaming scenarios of us crashing,
Mhm.
and like, okay, what am I going to do if we crash? And if you've flown in the Ospreys, they usually keep the back hatch open. So I'm sitting here, cockpit is that way towards my right, and the back hatch is towards my left. And so I usually like looking out the back hatch because I don't like looking at the patch of the dude sitting in front of me. So I'm looking out the back hatch, and you can see like the ground below you as you're flying. And I'm looking out, and I can see the back crew chief. You know, he's hooked up to his gunner's belt or his rig. And I remember he's sitting there eating I don't know why this memory's popped up. He's sitting there, and I'm just looking out the back, and all of a sudden through my peripheral, I see him reach into a McDonald's bag, and he pulls out like a McChicken and puts it to his side. And he's sitting on the back. You know how they sit there and they kind of
Mhm.
let their feet dangle. I just remember uh, Corporal Reyes. He's still a buddy of mine. He lives about 45 minutes from me now. But Corporal Reyes, he was sitting there, the crew chief on the back, and he's just sitting there digging into a McChicken. And I'm like, this motherfucker. And so look out the back hatch, and soon enough, I can see we're flying over the water, and you look down and you just see blue ocean, but this feeling is still there. And so I'm thinking of scenarios of crashing in the water now. I'm like, okay, and I can't explain it. I'm not like,
And you hadn't had this before, like, where you're thinking about crashes?
no, I've never experienced this in any capacity in any situation in life. Anything. I've been in like car crashes, and I never
Mhm.
felt anything before that. But it was like this premonition. It was like this feeling that
Yeah.
something was about to happen that was, like, very real. Like, it's like I knew something's about to happen.
Did any of the guys from that crash that you've talked to since have that same
Yes.
feeling?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
After the fact, after we all got back from the hospital, other guys had the same feeling, which is very, very strange because, like I said, it was like there was a presence there
Mhm.
that other people were feeling too.
That's crazy.
And so, yeah, I can't shake the feeling, and I'm starting to think, "Okay, well, if we're gonna crash, I hope we crash in the water because then at least maybe we will have a chance of surviving the impact."
Mm.
But then I'm thinking in my head, okay, then if we crash in the water, we're in Northern Australia. We got saltwater crocs. We got every shark imaginable. You got box jellyfish. You got all these things that are going to kill you. So now I'm like, I don't know if I want to crash in the water now. But I'm thinking like if we crash in the water, okay. I'm looking around now and I'm thinking about egress routes. And I'm looking at and identifying the iron ducks, the guys who can't swim, because I'm a pretty good swimmer. I'm going back to my training in the helo dunker. I'm thinking how I'm going to get out and who I'm going to go and help and save and help them get out because they can't swim. And I'm constantly checking my air tank and I'm making sure that it's working and that there's air in it. And I remember just sitting there kind of holding my air tank like this. I just got it like C-clamped like this in my left hand. And I'm just sitting there anticipating. And so we keep flying. We get past the ocean and we start flying over the island. So I look out and you can see the beach, you can see the island, and there was some word that was passed down. If you're in an Osprey, like you can't hear anything. One, you have ear pro; it's extremely loud. You can be sitting to the dude next to you and scream in his face, and it's hard to make out what he's saying. Um, so we passed down like hand signs, like hand signals. So we'd go like this, like 5 minutes out, 4 minutes out, 3 minutes out, and you pass it down the line. So we're doing that. Somebody did 5 minutes of that. I'm like, okay, 5 minutes. Just got to go 5 more minutes. And so we're flying over the island, and there were these alarms coming from the cockpit, and I didn't think much of it. I didn't think that, oh, we're crashing.
Mm.
It was like arbitrary alarms. I'm just a rifleman. I don't know. That could be anything. I'm not a pilot. I'm not going to try to
Mm.
discern on what that is. But they were kind of loud, and I remember hearing it, and then they stopped, and then maybe a couple minutes later, they started again, and, just remember thinking that was weird, but I didn't think too much of it, and so we keep flying, and, at some point, we start flying out of control, but at the time, I didn't, uh, I didn't acknowledge it as us flying out of control because on one hand, I have this weird ESP feeling that we're gonna crash, but the other side of my brain is telling me that can't happen.
Mm.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah. And so you think maybe we're just maneuvering or something?
I think we're doing evasive maneuvers,
Mm.
notional evasive maneuvers, because they do that. The pilots will do that in training.
Yeah.
I've been in 53s and Ospreys when the pilots are doing like notional evasive maneuvers or whatever. Like there's a notional scenario where heat sinking missile locked on and now the pilots have to swerve around it or whatever. And I've felt that before. So in my mind, when we're, in hindsight, we're flying out of control. But
Mm.
in my mind, the irrational portion who wants to think that I'm not going to die is just telling myself we're doing evasive maneuver training. But we weren't. It was like craziest. I remember thinking like they're like what are they like running away from Superman? Like
Mhm.
this is like some pretty intense evasive maneuvers because I'm getting like sucked into my seat.
Now is it like spinning like full 360 or
No, 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 no,
just
no. It wasn't like spinning full 360, but it was like flying like this, flying like this, making
Mm.
hard banks, hard turns, going from parallel to, right on its side, going down, going up, turbulence. And so I'm thinking like, man, this is some pretty intense evasive maneuver training because I'm like getting sucked in my seat. My cheeks are getting sucked in like I'm in a roller coaster at times. And then at one point, um, I remember we're flying like this. So this would be parallel, flying normal. We're flying like this. And like I said, I'm sitting about here. So at this point, I'm sitting and my back is straight shot to the ground. And I've got a porthole, a window right about here over my left shoulder. And I remember just looking back and I'm just looking straight at the ground, like a few hundred feet straight at the ground. And I'm like, that's weird. I've never flown like this before. I've
Yeah.
never flown straight on my side. And sketched out, worried, but trying to like rationalize it still.
Yeah, still not thinking that we're going down.
Yeah, you still don't like my brain held on to
Mhm.
that glimmer of hope that we weren't going down almost the whole time. And so then we're flying like this and we're coming down and we start to straighten out and level out. And we're flying over a remote island and there's like a forest there. So now we're flying over these trees and I'm looking out the back hatch and I can see the top of the trees. And we start to get closer to the top of the trees and start to get closer like we're landing like a commercial airline would.
Mm.
Um, and so I'm thinking, okay, we're about to land, but we're not slowing down at all. And then we just keep getting closer and closer to the top of the trees and not slowing down at all. I'm like, damn, we're gonna have a really like hot landing. Still trying to rationalize it. And then my eyes are just glued out the back hatch. And soon enough, we start clipping the top of the trees. And I'm like, "Holy shit, we're gonna have a really hot landing, dude. Like, what is going on?" Like, I'm still trying to
Yeah.
rationalize it. And then, like, 1 second later, we're full blown ripping through the trees, um, just completely in the forest, ripping down trees. And then at that point, that was my final moment where I was like, "Okay, I'm about to die."
You're like, "Okay, the Marine Corps maybe would hit the top of some trees, some intense train. We wouldn't go all the way in. We wouldn't
Yeah,
commit to the."
yeah. No, this wasn't like we clipped the edge of the
Mhm.
last tree line. This was like we're in the forest. We're
Man.
like, if you've seen Lost, that's what was going on,
Yeah.
like when the plane is ripping through the forest.
So was it just loud, just like tree like it
Yeah, you can hear the rotors going because it's a tilt rotor system, so the rotors can hover like this, and then they can fly like a helicopter, or they can tilt down and they can fly like a plane. It's technically a plane. It's like a hybrid plane helicopter.
Yeah.
So they're tilted forward like this and just
Just mowing through the trees.
rowing, mowing down trees, and we're getting shaken about. And yeah, at that point, I accepted fate, and in my mind, we probably had from that point to impact 3 to 5 seconds, um, from the moment we started ripping through the trees, and in that 3 to 5 second window, uh, my last thought popped into my head, which was, and Uh, all the guys talked about this after, and we're like, "What was your last thought before you were about to die?" And my last thought was how death was going to feel.
Mm.
So I was anticipating how death was about to feel in a couple seconds,
Mhm.
and in detail. Uh, Not like, "Oh, what's not existing on Earth gonna feel like?" No, it was like, "How is it gonna feel when I get blown up in a couple seconds?"
Yeah.
So my brain's in a split second thought of 3 scenarios of how I was about to die in a couple seconds, and one was we're gonna, impact the ground and just blow up, and I'm just gonna blow up. 2, we're gonna hit the ground and we're gonna tumble, and I'm gonna get crushed in here like a soda can, and that's gonna suck. Or 3, we're gonna hit the ground and we're gonna get ripped up, and shrapnel's gonna rip my leg off, and something's gonna rip my hand off, and I'm gonna get ripped in half. That's gonna suck. And I'm just sitting there helpless, waiting for one of those 3 outcomes to happen in a couple seconds. And then we hit the ground, and we hit it obviously very hard. I mean, we didn't slow down. Like nothing, we didn't slow down at all. I mean, imagine you're in a commercial aircraft with no landing gear flying through the trees. You're not slowing down, you're hitting at full force. Now, one of the reasons we survived, or one of the reasons there were survivors is because of how the pilots brought it down, because we were, like I said, flying like this and then we straightened out. So the pilots actually brought it down in the most advantageous way possible for the passengers to survive, for the platoon to survive, but not for them. They brought it down kind of nose first. So in a
Mm.
traditional like commercial airplane, the landing gear flies like this, your back wheels touch and then you slowly let the nose down.
Yeah.
This was nose down first, let the back
Mm.
touch
And so
second.
they're taking all those trees head on to the cockpit.
They're taking the trees, they were the first point of impact was the front. Um So with that being the case, you know, we hit the ground and like no car crash, you'll never experience a car crash that's going to be an impact like that. Um, it was violent, hard, jarring, loud impact. We hit the ground and then we slide for 100 yards. You can see like a streak in the dirt in the trees. Like we tore down trees and we slid for 100 yards. And we actually stopped right about 10 yards in front of a ravine. If we would have gone 10 yards further, we would have gone down a ravine and just fell and died.
Damn.
And so we slide and we come to a stop, and I'm just like, "I- I'm alive. Like I'm shocked that I'm alive. But then once we stop, my next thought is I'm about to blow up
Mm.
because I survived the initial impact, but, like, I'm about to blow up inside of here. You know, you see crashes and planes and helicopters, and they blow up after. So I'm frantically, like, and I'm just gonna quote what we all said. We were like, Get the fuck out, get the fuck out," and, start ripping my seatbelt off, and, I should back up a little bit. So after I realized that I was alive and we had stopped, I got thrashed around a bit in there, so I kinda had to, like, pick my head up, and I was dazed, and I had to, like, kinda come to, and as soon as I could open my eyes, it was just, like, you couldn't see anything. I
Mhm.
couldn't see my hand this close in front of my face because it was just black and dust,
Mhm.
and then you could see a glimmer of orange coming this way because there was fire coming from, the area of the cockpit, and at that point, I realized I was alive, and we all just start shouting, "Get the fuck out," and so I unbuckle myself, and I can't see I can't see anything, but I know, like, where the exit is, so I'm thinking in my mind as I'm, like, crawling over packs and debris, and can't see anything, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, "I'm about to blow up, I'm about to blow up, I'm about to blow up," and then I see a glimmer of light, and I go towards that, and then I jump out and, I'm out and I sprint like 25 yards thinking like there's about to be an explosion behind me. I'm about to get blown up. So I sprint, as fast as I can, 25 yards out, and I was one of the first ones out, and then I remember, like, you know, getting back 25 yards and then looking behind me to see where the other guys were, and I look back at the crash, and it's like you can't see the plane at all. It's just a huge mushroom cloud up in the air, black smoke engulfing the entire area, fire engulfing the entire area. You can't even see the plane.
Damn.
All I saw was one body jump out of a plume of smoke, another body jump out of a plume of smoke, two guys dragging a body out of a plume of smoke. And so I run back and I go back to help them and grab some guys. And I'm like, hey, we got to push back, consolidate over there. And so from that point, it was just get everybody out, whether people could walk, had to be carried, had to be buddy dragged. There was 23 guys on the bird. And so some guys were walking, limping, being dragged, being firemen's carried. And so we pushed back about 85, 90 yards from the crash. And then we just went into triage and accountability and setting up 9 lines. And so one of my buddies had a broken rib, and I remember I think he was the first one I helped to get back. Like, he couldn't really walk. He was just, like, moaning and groaning and holding his ribs.
Mhm.
Um,
And were the pilots the only casualties that died, or did they make it, or
it was the 2 pilots and the crew chief at the front.
damn.
So they were, their skeletons were found in the cockpit
Mm,
about 4 hours later because they were in the fire for, like, 4 hours.
damn.
So,
Do you know those guys at all?
no. Um No, I didn't know them. I'd seen them around base, but I never worked with them,
Mm,
like, one-on-one. They flew us around, but, I wasn't in the air wing, so I didn't have a personal relationship with them or anything. One of the Marines, the corporal, the crew chief, he's actually buried at Arlington National Cemetery,
mm.
so I go and visit him a couple times a year because 'cause I'm in DC. Um On the anniversary of the crash, I do a MRF and go visit him. Um, but yeah, those were the 3 that died. Um,
Damn.
so 19 Marines and 1 corpsman, so 20 guys made it out. And it was because of the way they brought us down, and
Yeah, so those guys knew what they were doing and sacrificed themselves to save everybody else.
yeah, yeah. Um, there's, there's no rationalizing how I even survived that.
Mm,
Even with them doing that, it was the grace of God that we
yeah.
survived because there was another bird and there was 2 ospreys flying on that route that day.
You don't tell me the other one went down too.
No, he was flying in front of us. So they had a bird's eye view of the whole thing. and that was the other part of our platoon. So we had like
Oh, shit.
1.5 squads
And so they're
in
probably
this.
watching out the back, seeing you guys like,
Yes.
"Dude, those pilots are high. What are they doing?"
They saw us crash and they thought we were all dead.
Oh, shit.
So, like, our platoon was split up between these 2 birds.
Because then it's just the big smoke just coming out of the trees.
Yeah, no, they saw us go down, they saw us hit the ground, they said they saw a massive explosion. It looked like a missile hit the ground and blew up. You see, like, the missiles hitting Gaza,
Yeah.
and you have this huge explosion where the mushroom cloud goes up? That's what they saw, and they said it was, like, 4 times as high as the trees, like the plume of smoke,
Damn.
and when they saw that, they're like, "We just watched all of our friends die.
Mhm.
No survivors. They're all dead." Like, have you seen a video of a plane crash?
Yeah.
Like, when you watch that, you think,
Yeah.
"Dead.
Everybody's dead.
Everybody's dead." So they thought we were all dead.
And so now were they some of the first responders? Did they land somewhere where they could and then come back to y'all, or
They tried to, so they did land. They saw that, and then they landed right away. And our platoon, my friends, they were, like, chomping at the bit to get off the bird and go help us, but, they weren't allowed to. For whatever reason, they had to stay with the bird, and they couldn't come. They were a decent ways ahead of us,
Mhm.
so they would have had a bit of a trek to get to us. Um, but yeah, they weren't able to. So after we crashed and kind of got consolidated and accountability up, like we were trying to get all of our numbers, and so we're counting heads, and then we get to the point where we're like, "Hey, did you guys see where the pilots went? Did you see the other crew chief?" Because the crew chief on the back, he wasn't even sitting down. He didn't have a seatbelt. He was just on his gunner's belt, his
That's
rig.
crazy.
So when we crashed, he was getting bounced around like a ping pong ball.
Damn.
And so he was messed up bad,
Mhm.
bad. He had severe internal bleeding. He had a tension pneumothorax, and we didn't have a needle D even to
Mhm.
give him. Um, he was severely concussed when I saw him for the first time because he had to be dragged out. He was unconscious. Um, I saw him for the first time because I ran back to try to help and grab guys, and then I see him being dragged by 2 Marines. One has each side of his flak, and he's just limp. He's just out cold, and they push him back like 50 yards. And I'm like, "Hey, we got to go back further. We're all consolidating back here." So they take him back, and um, yeah, he had like a broken pelvis, internal bleeding, a tension pneumothorax, concussion.
Man.
Yeah, he was banged up, and so we were just trying to keep him alive.
Mhm.
We were there for almost 5 hours. He was the first one that got evac'd,
Mhm.
and that was like 4 hours in.
And did y'all have, like, a senior line corpsman, or was it, like, HM3 or
We
something,
did
or
have a senior line corpsman, but he left his med bag on.
Oh, dude, what?
Dude, everybody was just trying to get
Yeah,
off.
yeah, I
Like,
know, I
I
know,
I
I
left everything.
know.
I
Yeah,
I left with what was on my body, which was
yeah,
my plate carrier and my Kevlar
yeah.
and my mags. I didn't grab my right this is
Yeah,
training.
dude, it's
This is training.
trash.
This is training, so, like, we didn't get shot down. We don't have to,
Mhm.
RTR or anything like that. So, I just got off. I was just getting off my
Yeah.
life. And I think, dude, we recovered, like, 4 rifles. Like, there was 4 dudes that were like, "Where's my rifle?" Like,
Oh,
it was a
man.
new boots. They're like, "I'm gonna get put in a plank if I don't grab my rifle."
Yeah. I gotta run back into this burning
Yeah.
plane.
"Where's your rifle?" You know? Um,
"Oh, you were in a plane crash? I don't care."
"That's serialized gear, motherfucker." Uh, but yeah, so I left everything. He left his med bag, so we had IFAKs to treat people.
Mm.
So we don't have a needle D. We don't have anything to give him for his attention pneumothorax. Um, and yeah, we're just trying to keep him alive. We fastened his pelvis together and kind of just kept him laying there and try to keep him talking, keep him awake for like 4 hours.
Mhm.
And then yeah, we were setting up 9 lines.
And did he make it?
He did.
Nice.
Yeah, like I said, he lives in Maryland now. He's like 45 minutes from me.
Oh, okay, that's him, yeah.
So I see him a couple times a year. A funny dude.
And so were y'all medevaced out? Like, were they able to land, or were they just
No,
sending down baskets?
they tried to send a hoist because nobody was ever able to land because we were in thick brush.
Yeah.
And so we called for a hoist, and there was a helicopter that came and tried to drop a hoist because there was like, not everybody was ambulatory. There was a lot of guys that couldn't walk. They broke. Dude, the section leader for machine gunners had 2 broken feet,
Ooh.
and he was sprinting around
God.
helping his guys because he didn't know. He
Yeah.
couldn't feel any pain for, like, 4 hours. But we had guys with broken legs, broken arms, broken ribs, concussions, guys knocked out. Um, so there's a few guys that weren't ambulatory, and then we were trying to get the priority casualty out of there.
Mhm.
So we called for a hoist, but the hoist couldn't get to us at all. There was nowhere. Like, I remember we were carrying the priority casualties, trying to like chase down the bird with the hoist, and there was nowhere for them to drop it.
Jeez.
So uh, it was the Aussies and the Kiwis. The uh, the Kiwis and the Aussies showed up first on foot. I don't know where they came from, but there was no like vehicle that got to us for like 4 hours. So they showed up on foot with
Oh,
some
shit.
some med kits and some litters.
So y'all were there for like 4 hours before help showed up.
The first wave of help, the Kiwis and the Aussies showed up probably an hour,
Mm.
maybe. Like I said, on foot, they were gassed. They were like dripping sweat. It's hot, Australia, humid, and they get there with their litters and their med kits, and they start helping us. But no medevac could come for like 4 hours, because we had to give them our grid. They had to come find us. Also, we passed up on the 9 lines that everybody was like, basically everybody was routine. And,
Mm.
routine can mean like you're good walking around or
Yeah.
you're a dead body. So when the rest of our platoon heard that like everybody was routine, they're like, everybody's dead.
Shit. Yeah, we're just doing a recovery operation at this point. It was,
Yeah, they thought that it was just a recovery of dead bodies
man.
for like, and that lasted for a long time because we didn't get to the hospital and they didn't get full accountability. And then you know how that information disseminates down. It takes a while to get to the individual corporal or lance. So it was like not till the next day guys found out people were alive.
Damn. So did they ever find out the cause, like in an investigation, what happened to the plane?
They did recover the black box, but I don't remember what the investigation fully said. There was some issues with the squadron. So they had some discrepancies that they found. I think some people got in trouble. They didn't account for the weight properly or
Mhm.
something like that. But Ospreys are notorious for going down and having issues.
Yeah.
Um, and I never chalked it up to pilot error because our pilots was a very experienced captain and major. I think it was the XO of the squadron who was one of the pilots.
Yeah, because I've seen like I don't mind flying, but I've watched a lot of videos of airline crashes, so I could probably tell you about most of the ones that have happened. I'll just stay up at night reading and watching those, and it's crazy in these big commercial airlines that they can, through their investigations, going through all of the crash site, they can pinpoint almost exactly like what mechanical piece failed
Yeah.
or like this or that based on the black box and then based on putting together all the pieces from the crash. It's crazy what they can like recreate and find out.
Yeah. I just know I remember there was some stuff that came out that kind of it was almost like they used the pilots as a scapegoat. They
Mhm.
couldn't piece everything together, so they put some of the blame on the pilots, which I thought was wrong
Yeah.
because they saved our lives. I'm not gonna put any blame on them. They literally died saving our lives, which I thought was wrong. So I don't know I don't remember what the full investigation concluded, um,
Dang.
but
And you were just a few weeks or a few months from getting out?
6 weeks.
Dude.
I almost died 6 weeks before becoming a civilian.
Bro, imagine how pissed you would have been if you would have died.
Yeah. Yeah.
So pissed.
My buddies were making jokes. You know how dark humor in the Marine
Mhm.
Corps works? My buddies back in the rear, back at the barracks, because they came back from the op, it got canceled, and, they had to cope. They had to cope with my death. They thought I was dead, so they're like, "Man, uh, he only had 6 weeks left, man, his last op, and then he goes down." But, then they found out the next day I was alive.
Man. So were you like what was the impact after that? Were you shaken up? Like were you like weary of
Oh,
flying? Or
yeah,
like
yeah.
tell me about that. What was
I
that like?
still am a bit.
Yeah.
Like, even the flight I took today, like, anytime So like the first this is about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, but 2023, uh, the 27th of August, 2023. So flying for the first like year and a half was like I literally thought I was gonna die
Every
on
time.
every flight. Uh, Taking off, thought I was gonna die. Turbulence, thought I was gonna die. Landing every time, thought I was gonna die because it was the same feeling.
Yeah.
It was the same feeling of coming down really hot. And so I was just anticipating, like, blowing up every time I was on, like, a Delta flight or something.
Everybody else is just chilling, napping, and
No,
you're
dude,
just like, "Whoa."
I'm literally, like, shaking, like, it was, like, real PTSD.
Yeah.
It got better. We can get into this later in the talk, but it got better the more orthodox I became.
Mm,
And now it's almost gone. It's
okay.
pretty much gone. Like, it still pops up every now and then if there's, like, bad turbulence.
Mhm.
Because, like I said, I fly every single month. So if there's, like, bad turbulence, yeah, I get a bit sketched out. Just hit the Jesus prayer and I'm good.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the first, like, year and some change, really bad,
Damn.
dude.
So what was the Marine Corps' like response to that? Like you're about to get out, like you're on your way out the door doing your paperwork. Were they just like, "All right, you're good," or like what was that response like?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, like "All right, you're good, right? All right, see ya."
Yep. See you on your merry way. Three to the wolves. No, I mean, when I came back, like, so after the crash, after we got evac, I was in the hospital for, like 24 hours.
Mhm.
I had a neck brace on, had a TBI. I was one of the most unscathed in the crash. No broken bones, no internal bleeding, nothing crazy like that. I had a TBI, smoke inhalation, uh, some gnarly whiplash that didn't set in, and I didn't notice it for like 5 hours,
Mm.
and then I tried turning my head, and I was like, "Oh, can't do that." And, so when I got the deployment ended literally, like, 3 weeks later, and then we go back, to Pendleton, and I did, like, some physical therapy and some chiropractic appointments,
Mhm.
but, like, I was trying to get out, you know?
Yeah.
I was already rushed to finish my EAS paperwork, which, going to S3 and S1 and, like, SIF and turning your gear in is a hassle and annoying, and they make it really annoying.
Yeah, and depending on what unit you're with, they're also still making you do your regular bullshit.
Oh, yeah,
They're like,
yeah.
"Dude, I'm getting out, so it doesn't matter, you gotta be here for this."
Yeah, I did get a light duty chit, though.
Oh, nice.
I made sure I got my light duty so I didn't have to go to PT, but, like, I still had to go to formation and, like, all that
Damn, man.
stuff.
So, I mean, after that crash happened, like, when you got out, what was your perspective on, like, death? I guess, moving forward after that crash?
Um, well, like I said, when I would fly, death was at the top of my mind
Mhm.
because I thought I was gonna die every time.
And did you ever, like, try and drink to, like, dull that down or get prescribed anything?
No, actually the opposite. Um, and hopefully this doesn't come off as, like, self-aggrandizing or anything, but after the crash, and after I survived, I wrote a letter to the families while I was still on deployment,
Mm,
and I posted it to Instagram, and I put a lot of thought and time and effort into the letter to talk about what happened and to talk about the Marines that sacrificed their life. And those families reached out to me when I posted that, and I got in touch with all of them, and I'm still in touch with them. And I got just this outpouring of support and thank yous for the letter and all these things. And I just kind of came to the realization that this was a truly like a second chance granted to me that I don't have to have.
yeah.
One, by the grace of God, and two, through the sacrifice of those Marines and what they did. And so I saw this as my life restarting, and I need to be different. I need to be a different person. I need to be a better
Mhm.
person because how am I going to accept that sacrifice? And this goes back to Christ. Like, how can you live for yourself when Christ died for you?
Mhm.
And so I kind of also applied that to them, not in the same way as Christ, obviously, because what he did is unique and something nobody can replicate. But it gave me more perspective because I could have died there in that moment on that day, and I didn't because of the actions of those Marines.
Yeah.
And so, how could I go about my life living it however I wanted when they made a sacrifice to ensure my life could continue? How can I then continue my life and be a dirtbag or be lazy or be unproductive in society? Like, I need to give back now. They gave me the second chance, so I need to do something productive with my life.
Yeah, and I mean, in a way, that's its own blessing, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, like, starting a
A
second
new,
life.
yeah, very clear and profound shift in perspective of the life I have now.
Have you looked into near-death experiences at all? Like, accounts of those?
Uh, Not too much.
So so I hadn't either. We had a guest on. He was also in a plane crash, so he was a skydiving instructor. And he went down in a plane crash, and he was stuck in the plane, and so most of his body was burned. Half of his body was burned, and he lost most of his fingers, had to get a bunch of grafts. But he died in the hospital, and he coded, and he had a near-death experience. And we had him on, and he talked about it. And I looked into it afterwards, like on YouTube, you can look at it. There's tons of people who have had these experiences. A lot of them are heart attacks where they're in, say, in the hospital, in the emergency room, and then they get them back. And then they're talking to the doctor, and they can recount everybody that was in the room, like what this person was doing, what this guy was wearing, what they were saying over there at the time that he was dead, that there was flatline. And so that's crazy. And a lot of these things they talk because I'm interested in how this intersects with Christianity as well, because there's a big study of this guy in Kentucky. I think he's like an oncologist, and he's been doing it for 30 years, like building this case study on all of these near death experiences. And so the first thing they experience is this bright light or this darkness and this light that's like pulling them towards this light. And then they just feel this like complete peace and like this like love. And usually they see a family member. So it's like a family member or whatever. But it's just great. Like you were talking about earlier, like these dimensions, these senses, these things that we can't completely understand.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that from, like, hospice nurses. They have stories of, like, elderly people or sick people who are about to die,
Mhm.
and you can look this up. Uh, a lot of hospice nurses, testify that people right before they die, they experience some sort of, like, vision,
Mhm.
whether that's, um, a premonition or they get visited by a saint in some cases or loved ones.
I experienced that with my dad.
Really?
Yeah, so he got a surprise cancer diagnosis in 2020. And so we found out in March and he died in May. So the military was kind enough to let me go home. And so I was with him in the hospitals. This was the heat of COVID. So I was like having to fight the hospitals to be able to just be there in the hospital with him because he's on so much pain meds. He doesn't know what's going on. And so finally, I have to make the call to bring him back to hospice because he was divorced and I'm the oldest of his sons. And so, yeah, we go back home and we're there for a few weeks and he just starts to go downhill. And the priest comes in and talks to him. And the entire time, he had never like cried. He had never talked about death, like nothing. He was just like strong until the end. And he had been out of it. He was like loopy, not making sense, talking about people on the roof, out of it. And I'm sleeping on a little
Mhm.
mattress in the living room on the floor so I can just be at the foot of his bed. And so wake up one morning, he'd been out of it all week and he's like, I want to see my sons. Like, where are my sons? And I'm like, I'm right here, dad. And he's like, totally clear. He'd not been there the past 2 weeks. Clear. He's like, everything I did was for you. Like, I love you. I love my sons. And then he goes back out. And then later that day, he has another moment. He looks at me and he's like, there's a place ready for me. Like, I'm ready to go there. Like, it's ready for me. He's waiting. And I'm like, hasn't talked like this at all. And then I have all this like journal down. In that same time frame, my great grandparents were really close to us, and his dad, my grandfather, also died of cancer. And so he's laying in this hospital bed, hasn't talked like this at all, except for this isolated moment. He's talking to somebody over here and having a full on back and forth conversation. And I walk up, I'm like, "Dad, who you talking to?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm talking to Granny." Uh, And that happened like 4 or 5 times. Like, all of our, like, relatives, like, his grandparents and his dad, like, he's talking to them, and then we ask him, and he's like, "Oh," like, he snaps out of it. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I've had another near death experience, where I had something like that happen. It didn't happen during the crash, nothing like that. It was just the weird, eerie, dark ESP feeling. And to my knowledge, nobody else in the crash had any experience of like seeing loved ones or dead relatives or anything like that. But I had another near death experience when I was 12. Uh, ha- I haven't really talked. I've actually never talked about this publicly. I'll keep that one to myself.
Okay.
I don't think I'm ready to talk about that one publicly yet.
Yeah.
But a similar situation,
Mhm.
very unexplainable. And I was very close to death when I was 12. I was sick. Um, I was 12. I had a staph infection that went septic and started attacking my heart and my lungs, and it was in my bloodstream. And the doctors for the longest time didn't know what was wrong with me. They thought I had pneumonia because I couldn't really breathe well. It had kind of consolidated, hosted itself in my tailbone because I had a bruised tailbone from a prank some kid at youth group pulled on me.
Mm.
Um, and so I got really sick the next couple weeks later. And one night, my parents took me to the hospital because I was laying in my bed. And I remember my dad was nervous and worried about me. So he slept on my floor. He didn't sleep, he just laid there. And then my mom took me to the hospital probably like 2, 3 in the morning. And when I got there, my white blood cell count was like through the roof and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, but they were like, something's wrong. And the doctor on call who received me that night, she came back the next day and was like shocked that I was still alive because my heart was like barely functioning. It was like almost fully taken over my body and killed me. And so they had to stick a bunch of tubes down my throat and start extracting the fluid from my lungs and stuff. But yeah, it was pretty bad. I was probably just as close to death at that point than I was in the crash.
Damn.
But I had an experience seeing something that doesn't make any sense.
Was it relatives or
No,
wow.
no, it wasn't relatives. Um, but yeah, I was in the hospital for 3 weeks, and it was the first night. Just to give as much as I can,
Mhm.
it was the first night I got there when it was like when everybody thought I was gonna die, and they were like rushing around trying to hook me up to stuff and save my life. And my mom was she was standing on the right side of my bed, and I remember waking up and looking over at her, and she was, like, crying, and, I didn't know what was going on because there's all these things hooked up to me, and there's nurses running around, doctors coming in and out, and my mom's standing there crying, and then, I, like, went back to sleep because I was really tired, and, I went back to sleep, but didn't go to sleep, and I experienced something, um, and then, woke up and told my mom, and it, like, gave her a lot of comfort based on what I told her I saw. But, there's certain things the reason I don't talk about it publicly because I don't know how many people are gonna see this, and, not really that I care what people think, because I say a lot of things on the internet, and I don't care what people think. But, I've learned in Orthodoxy, there's some things that you just kinda keep to yourself and
Mhm.
hold some things, and a friend of mine told me because I had another experience in Greece when I was there of a miracle, and my it was my videographer. my YouTube videographer and editor, we were together and we experienced the same thing.
And this is the Mount Athos video you posted?
Yeah.
Okay.
This wasn't on Mount Athos, this was, on Agina Island.
Mhm.
We experienced a miracle together, and it's wild.
What happened?
Um, it was, Saint Nectarios. We heard Saint Nectarios, which is it's not an uncommon thing. His relics are in Agina,
Mhm.
uh, at the monastery that he founded. He was reposed in 1920. And so his relics are there, and pilgrims will go and visit the monastery, and they'll visit his relics. And he was known for being a wonder worker, a healer. And many people would go and pray and ask for his intercession if people had like cancer or illnesses.
Mhm.
And there's plenty of reportings of people stage 4 terminal cancer being healed after calling on the intercessions of Saint Nectarios.
Wow.
And so I have a family member who has a illness that's pretty serious, and so I called on his intercession when we were there and got a reply. It was pretty crazy. But my videographer experienced the same thing, and so we were just so dumbfounded after the fact.
And now were y'all in, like, a church, or were y'all
We were at the monastery, and his relics. Have you ever seen the relics of a saint?
not this specific one, but I've seen, like, on the internet, like, not in person, but, like, boxes and things.
Yeah, so he was incorrupt, um, uh, after he was reposed, which is a sign of sainthood, and so his relics are there in a marble tomb, and the monastery is very big. You've got a couple churches and chapels, and then there's this room with a marble tomb with Saint Nectarios's relics inside of it,
Mm.
and so you
And
people
for those layman's out there, relics are like like the body,
the body you have relics of many saints,
like the hand of someone or
yeah, like the hand of Saint John Chrysostom, I've
mm.
seen that as well, that's in Mount
Oh,
Athos.
nice.
So when I went to Mount Athos, I went to Philotheo Monastery, and they have some crazy relics there.
That's
They
wild.
have a piece of the true cross,
Mm.
so I got to venerate that. They have the full hand of Saint John Chrysostom.
That's so crazy. Is it, like, encased in, like, a glove and, like, just a piece is showing, or, like, how does
No, it's just
the whole thing?
the monk took the whole hand out,
Oh my gosh.
and it's totally incorrupt. Like, you can
Really?
still see his veins.
Oh, can you look that up? Hand of John Chrysostom. You might have to Google search it. That's crazy, man. And when
Yeah,
were you
but like
again?
what I was saying, back to my point of like when you experience certain things, because after my videographer and I experienced that,
And so he was also praying or
he was
asking?
praying,
Okay.
um, and so we experienced the same thing, and then we come out and we're like, "What was that?" Like,
Is that it?
"Yep, that's it." You can
Whoa.
still see the veins.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that is the one, I believe, on the right in the with the red cloth.
So for people listening, so this is the undecaying holy relic of St. John Chrysostom. Over 1,600 years after his passing, and it's not a skeleton hand. You can look this up. That's crazy.
Yeah, so one of the greatest theologians in the church, and I just imagine the heat that he wrote with that hand.
Yeah, he's spitting bars with that
Yeah,
hand.
and I got to venerate it in Mount
Wow.
Athos, but they have it in a case.
And so
It's
now, like, I guess the chain of custody with this, do you know that?
yeah, I don't know.
That's
I don't know how
crazy,
they
though.
you know, these things have been in the church for centuries.
Yeah.
So they've had this since he died, and,
Wow.
they have all the monasteries in Mount Athos, they have a bunch of different relics. Like, they had a relic of the true cross, like I said, they had a piece of, the skull of, Saint George, who's my patron
Mhm.
saint. They had this, a bunch of other stuff. They had so much, I honestly don't remember it all,
Wow.
and there was a line of us going through and venerating it, so they're, like, explaining each thing, and I'm like, "Wow, wow," and just going
Man.
through.
Well, and I saw part of your video. I mean, it's the monks that die there. They eventually take their skull and put them in this closet.
Yes, so the monks stay there till the return of Christ.
Wow.
So they
What was it
stay
like
there.
walking into that room? Like with all of the skulls there?
Uh, not even it wasn't eerie, it was like not even, like, somber, it was like you just try to take it in
Yeah.
and think that, like, there's like, when how far back does this go? Like,
Mm,
what is the oldest, uh, skull in here?
yeah.
And you just think of and when you go to Mount Athos, like, it's a holy place, and it's a place full of spiritual warfare because the monks there, um, they experience the most intense spiritual warfare because they are praying for the whole world.
Mhm.
Um, they're essentially and one of the monks actually likened it to this. He said, "We are the Delta Force of God's army." And it's true.
Yeah.
They so
Wow.
if they're the Delta Force, they're getting the demonic Delta
Mhm.
Force attacking them.
And so is that just present itself as, like, temptations to these guys?
Yes.
Mm,
Yes.
man.
I wanna get back to my other point, though, with
Yeah.
the miracle, because I think for any Orthodox listeners, like, there's a reason why I don't talk about what happened to me when I was 12, and I've only told a handful of people. Um, eh, the reason I don't wanna speak about it publicly is in detail is because after experiencing, uh, what happened in Greece, the miracle that me and my videographer experienced, we were talking about it, trying to make sense of it, because it just didn't make any sense.
Mhm.
Just
And
if you're
what did it say
inquiring
to
into
you?
Orthodox, it didn't say anything. He didn't say anything.
It was just a feeling.
So, this one I'm fine to talk about because it is a well-known,
Yeah.
miracle. A lot of people experience it. People go there, purposefully to try to hear this. So, it's it's unique to me, but
Yeah.
it's not too unique to share, I guess. So on my trip to Greece, I go to Mount Athos. I go there for Pascha, there for 4 days, meet these monks, and there's this one monk, the monk who told me how the monks are the Delta Force of God's army. So him and I stayed in touch. We're still in touch today. And, dude, I remember leaving Mount Athos and, dude, the most intense spiritual attacks I've ever had in my life the second I got off the island. It was like I left a safe haven, and
Mhm.
now the demons are swarming me. It
So
was like I was throwing them off like this, just it was like my brain wasn't my brain. It was like every thought, like, I was just getting attacked. Like, if you felt like spiritual warfare, in very intensely,
Mhm.
it feels like somebody just hijacked your brain.
And you're just so discontent on the inside, or it's just, like,
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't shake it, and so I was like and
interesting.
they warned me about that. They warned me, and other pilgrims who had been to Mount Athos, they're like, "Now, Mount Athos is a place full of spiritual warfare, so when you go there, like, you're under the protection of the monks.
Mhm.
When you go and stay at a monastery, the monks like, you're under their protection." Dude, there's been suicides on Mount Athos because the demons will tempt people to that,
Oh, wow.
just like Judas.
Yeah.
So they'll tempt you into despair or whatever. So when you leave that safe haven, and then you get attacked more fiercely. And so I was warned about this because this is the first time I went to Mount Athos,
Mhm.
and so pilgrims are telling me, they're like, "Be cognizant, nepsis, be constantly spiritually aware of this when you leave," and the monks told me too, and when I left, it was super real and super profound. So, like, probably, like, 4 or 5 days after leaving, I couldn't shake this spiritual warfare and these attacks and these temptations, and, so I called this monk,
Mhm.
or I was texting him, and I'm telling him, like, "Father, I'm experiencing these spiritual attacks, and I can't shake them."
And so, like, what do you mean by that? Like, what was like, thoughts of, like, suicide or, like, things like that? Or, like, just all kinds of
All kinds of stuff that just weren't my thoughts,
Yeah.
just bombarding me all the time, all the time. And it was like, "Dude, this is nuts. Like, I need some help." So I text, this father in Mount Athos, and I tell him what I'm going through, and he calls me right away.
Mm.
And then he gives me some advice, and then we get into a normal conversation, and he's asking me what else I have on my agenda in Greece. So I tell him, tomorrow I'm going to Agina Island to visit the relics of Saint Nectarios. And so this is, he tells me, he's like, "Oh, when you go there, go up to his tomb and pray to him and put your ear up to the tomb, and sometimes you can hear him." And "What? Father, what?" He's like, "Yes, yes, you can hear him." I'm like,
Just matter of factly.
"Yeah, is this Greek people is like he thinks I can understand this, like, I've been Orthodox my whole life and, like, I'm Greek." I'm like, "What do you mean you can hear him?" And he's like, "Yes, sometimes you can hear him." And I'm like, Have you ever heard him?" And he's like, "Yes, a couple times." And he's like, "First time when I was a kid, and then I didn't hear him for 30 years until I went back last year." And I was like, "Well, what did he say to you?" And he's like, "Oh, no, no, he doesn't talk. You hear him in there, in the tomb, moving." And I'm like, "Okay."
Mhm,
Uh, and Father Moses told me this. He's like, "Stick ar if you stay around in the Orthodox Church long enough, you'll experience
mhm.
miracles."
Shout out Father Moses, that dude's
Yeah,
jacked priest.
super strong, still super short, though. Still
Yeah.
got him on height.
Nice.
He makes fun of my grip strength.
Oh, dude.
Um,
That guy's probably got gorilla grip strength, dude.
yeah, he's built like a Ninja Turtle, dude.
Yeah.
But, so it's very true what Father Moses said. If you stick around the Orthodox Church long enough, you'll realize it is the church of the Book of Acts. You'll see and experience miracles. Don't hunt them. Don't look for them.
Mm.
But like you will. And so he tells me this. The monk tells me this on the phone. And so I go there, and we get to where his relics are, and we go up, and it's this big tomb, and it's probably chest height on me, and you can see it. You know what it is because there's people in this small room putting their ear up to it and praying. And so we go in there, and I put my right ear on the side. I get on a knee and put my ear on, and I start praying to Saint Nectarios, and don't hear anything. Sit there for maybe 5 minutes, cover my other ear, and try to like lock in. And I'm not trying to like force it. I'm not trying to hear things that aren't there. I'm just trying to let whatever happen. And nothing happens. So I'm like, okay, glory to God, not meant to be. And then I leave, and then I think to myself, well, I've got a family member who has this health problem, and I know Saint Nectarios is known for asking on his intercessions and people were experiencing healing.
Mhm.
So I'm like, I don't have anything to pray for. I'm not sick or ill, so let me go and pray for this family member. And so I go in there and I put my ear on the top, and I just start praying for this family member, and I don't hear anything. And then maybe 2 minutes in, it sounds like there's a wooden board inside of the tomb, and it sounds like somebody is, like, rustling around in there. People are gonna think this is fake. I mean, it's whatever, like, the
Yeah.
viewers, it doesn't like, I don't it doesn't matter. But it sounds like somebody's moving around in there. I'm like, "What?" Like, am I hearing that right, or is my brain adding things in? And so I stay there and I keep praying, and, then it's like something is moving around on this wooden board, and it's going over here, and then it's going over there, and then it's coming closer, and then I start to hear knocking, and it's coming from over there on the distance, and then it's coming closer, and then at one point, it's literally like somebody with their one knuckle is just going like this right below my ear on the tomb, and it's clear as day,
Mhm.
no mistaking it with, like, people walking outside. No, it's like an echo from the inside right on my ear, and then it goes over here, and then, like, hands moving across it, and I don't know why. I don't know why. I can't make sense of that.
Mhm.
I don't know why that has to happen. I don't know what the significance of that is, but my videographer experienced the same thing, and he was there standing next to me, and he heard the same thing, and he heard it in the same spots, right,
Wow.
together, and so we come out, and we're, like, just dumbfounded as to what we heard, and again, not you couldn't mistake it. This was coming from the inside, and so we were talking the rest of that day just trying to make sense of it.
Mhm.
And it's a holy mystery. You can't make sense of holy mysteries.
That's crazy. How's that family member? Is there any
He's doing better.
really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Glory to God, man.
yeah, glory to God. But we just kept talking throughout the day trying to make sense of it because it was like, you just can't make sense of it. It didn't make any sense. And then we were like, why that? Like, I get it if the miracle was my family member was healed like that,
Mhm.
then I understand the significance of it. But like, what's the significance of me hearing Saint Nectario's knocking on his I don't know.
Mhm.
But my videographer made a good point. He said his priest told him one time that sometimes the Holy Spirit will just give you little kisses
Mhm.
every now and then, and it can come and manifest in many forms. But sometimes we go through the spiritual wilderness where our prayers feel like we're talking to a brick wall, and then sometimes it feels like when we pray, the Holy Spirit is like hugging us.
Yeah.
And so at times it's just like the Holy Spirit he just gives you a little kiss for whatever reason, and
Mhm.
maybe it's just that. Maybe he just wants you to know that he's there. And that's all we chalked it up to be because it didn't make any other sense any other way. But he also said that when you receive those kisses, sometimes it's best to just keep that to yourself because
Mm.
if you speak about it, it can come across as pride, like, "Oh, I'm so
Mm.
important to God that he decided to give me
Yeah.
this gift."
Even if you don't intend for it to be, it can
No.
easily slip over
Yeah.
into being.
So with other things like this story when I was 12, I've kept that one to myself, and is way more crazy than the Saint Nectarios one.
That's wild, man. Dude, going back to you speaking on spiritual warfare, I was thinking, I think I talked about this on a podcast once. It was around the time that I got baptized in the Orthodox church. And so, dude, sometimes I'll stay up super late, like reading about topics or,
Me too.
yeah, I'll stay up. And then, especially with ChatGPT and AI now, I'm like, dude, what about this? Well, what about this? And now it's 3 a.m. And it was a while back, I got into this with aliens. And so I got into it with aliens and like the alien abductions and like the verified accounts of like abductions, like down this deep rabbit hole and then into like possessions, like all of this stuff. And then trying to get these reports and these accounts and case studies of abductions and what they've seen. And they'll see like this small, like owl animal figure in their bedroom or like over here, like all these things. And this is middle of the night, I'm looking all this shit up, and then I'm like, okay, like now based on all of this and all of the reports and like the studies and the everything that we have on this, like generate an image of what you think these things look like. And it created this image, and I'm like in my bed in the middle of the night, and it generates. Soon as I see it, I'm like chills, like all over. And then for weeks here in the house, I'm like looking over my shoulder, like I'm not scared of the dark, but during that period at night, I'm like, dude, something is watching me. What the fuck? Like I slept with the lights on, dude, for like a week. I slept with my bathroom light on, bro. Cause as soon as I turned that light off, I just felt this like dark ass energy. And then I got baptized in the church and I started praying and I was just like, and that
Yeah,
went away,
yeah.
that like darkness in the house.
From what I've learned, from what I've been told, is that is the demon's last ditch effort to keep you from baptism.
Mm.
Because, and I I tread lightly when I go like too deep into Orthodox talk because I'm not a priest, I'm not clergy, I'm a layman. So I don't like to speak on behalf of the church. But like from what I've learned on what you said, what I've read from saints, heard from priests or spiritual fathers, is what you explained is basically the demon's last ditch effort to keep you from baptism. That's the last thing that they want because they had you for so long before then, and baptism is when you receive the Holy Spirit.
That's crazy.
And so I've heard other stories.
Yeah, because nothing I would do would get rid of this feeling other than, yeah, after the baptism and praying.
Yep. And yeah, I've heard other stories from laymen, from reading the lives of the saints, from other books or whatever, right? Where people have crazy pre-baptismal experiences.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it was and that was it was kind of a blessing, like, looking back on it, because it was I talked to my priest about it. I'm like, "Dude, this was, like, one day it's here, and then baptized, I'm praying, and then it's gone." And,
They're
like,
but the
anytime that feeling comes back, I make sure, "Okay, I'm gonna go pray," like, I'm focusing on Christ, it goes away.
yeah. But I feel like the demons are shooting themselves in the foot by doing that because they're just making us run to the church even quicker.
Yeah, especially once you know about it, because yeah, being Protestant, it's like, dude, out here without a paddle. Like,
Well, yeah, yeah. When you're Protestant, it's like, dude, it's such a profound difference leaving Protestantism, coming into Orthodoxy. And I give the analogy that, uh, leaving the Protestant church is like the depth of the Protestant church is a puddle compared to
mm,
the ocean of Orthodoxy.
yep.
And so when you do that, you notice so much more. Like there's so much more that becomes revealed to you, and you become more enlightened, shall I say?
And so
Um,
you became Orthodox, or when did you start inquiring about Orthodoxy? What year was this?
this was early 25.
Okay, so 2025. And so with that, when did you start speaking out about everything going on in Gaza and Israel and like all this stuff? Was that about the same time or?
Before then, yeah, it was
Okay.
around the same time, but a little before I started inquiring.
Okay. And did those kind of feed into each other? Like the more you learned about Orthodoxy, because you grew up Protestant, it kind of changed your view on these things, or how'd that come about?
On Israel?
Yeah, on
Like
Israel and like
like a
Judaism.
correlation between Orthodoxy and my views on Israel?
Yeah. Did that have any like correlation? Like the more you learned about Orthodoxy and away from Protestantism?
Uh, uh, it deepened my understanding of it.
Yeah.
It was already there. I was already very critical of Israel. I got red pilled on Israel when I was like 15 years old. I've been in this game for a minute.
Okay, now, dude, I only a couple years ago for me, my buddy, I was telling you about him earlier. He was a recon guy, and because he's Orthodox, and he's telling me about, yeah, dude, the fucking Jews,
Yeah,
and I'm like, what? Because I'm still Protestant,
that
and he,
Protestant Fronima, yeah.
yeah, man, and I'm like, dude, what? I've never heard anyone talk about this.
Yeah, you're not supposed to, right? You don't wanna be anti-Semitic by exposing a genocidal state of Israel.
Yep, and these people that hate you.
Yeah, but I got red pilled and found out what Zionism was, like I said, when I was like 15.
How did you do that? Just
Uh,
researching into it, or
researching, I've always been, like, very inquisitive and skeptical of things, and, uh, I
because you grew
started.
up Protestant, right? So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
guessing they were like supporting Israel, Zionism, all that.
Yes, that's the ubiquitous, like, default for Protestants, even if you're not a part of, like, a mega Christian Zionist church.
Is like Jews are the chosen people, like the blanket statement that they all get.
Yes. So, I mean, I grew up in a very Calvinistic, Reformed church, so not the happy clappy, evangelical smoke machine churches.
Mhm.
We sang out of hymns. Um, it wasn't liturgical in nature, but it was, I guess, uh, an older version of Protestantism, not this new age, like,
Mm,
happy clappy rock bands and
yeah,
TED Talks.
and people are coming for the coffee bar as much as,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
the
So, but that was my upbringing, and, of course, I bought into it. I
yeah.
was raised in that church from birth till I was, like, 19, 18 when I ultimately left. Um, and so Christian Zionism, number 1, Christian Zionism was not a term back then. The term Christian Zionism was really, uh, coined in the past couple years to
Mm,
put a label on what it was, what it always had been. But that notion that the Jewish people are God's people was prevalent. It was there.
mm.
It was an undercurrent of what, the church still held to, the church, the Protestant church. So I remember, actually, when I was looking into Israel, because I went through I went through a couple phases in high school. I went through a magic phase. I used to do
A
parkour,
magic face, so you're doing magic?
like card tricks.
Okay,
I was
nice.
very good.
Okay.
I was very good. I was a little David Blaine.
Do you still know any card tricks?
I do, I'm a bit rusty. Uh, I forgot a lot of them, but,
Dude, I remember I bought when I was a kid, my parents might have bought it for me, it was like a Chris Angel magic book and showed you all these basic
uh-huh.
little magic tricks.
No, yeah, I went super in depth on it. But, yeah, like I said, I had these phases, and one of my phases, which turned into the rest of my life up until now, was getting into conspiracy theories.
Mhm.
It's not a phase, mom. I'm making a living off of it.
Look at me now.
Yeah, look at me now. The earth is flat,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
Dude, that's the one they throw out there to, like, decredit everything else.
Yeah, yeah. You say the earth is flat, everything else you say is
Mhm.
hogwash. I'm not a flat earther, just so you know. I don't know what shape it is. But No, I started, like, diving into conspiracy theories. It was 9/11 that really, like,
Mm.
you know, woke me up from the Matrix. My brother watched this documentary on 9/11,
Mhm.
and then he showed it to me, and I watched it, and I was like, "Man, that makes a lot of sense. I don't think jet fuel can burn steel beams and bring down a whole building.
Do you remember the
I
name
don't
of this
think it."
documentary?
No, dude, I
Oh,
was,
okay.
like, young, 13,
Yeah.
14 years old, and it just broke it down and just made it make so much sense, and
Mhm.
then, you know, it's like red pill is a good term because it's literally like taking a red pill. Once you see it, you can't unsee it,
Mhm.
and then you wanna go deeper down the rabbit hole and just say, "What else was I lied to about?"
Yeah.
And so that trajectory took me to where I am today, and I started looking into everything. I started questioning everything. I did look into the flat earth, you know? I did there wasn't any rock I wouldn't turn over. Uh,
Did you look into JFK?
yeah, everything, man.
Oh, dude, that one see, that's what opened me up to it. Like, deep diving into that, and I'm like, "Dude, none of this shit makes sense," and it's so in your face.
Yep. But so I started, I started looking into the Freemasons. I started looking into, the Illuminati and the corruption in, Congress and the corruption in the music industry and entertainment industry.
And so this is, like, in high
This is
school.
high school, yeah, and I'm not uh, this is over a decade ago. Social media is not what it is today. Vine hadn't even come out at this
Mhm.
time. So I'm not making content. I'm a teenager. I'm in high school. So I'm researching all this stuff and I'm like telling my friends and family, I'm like trying to wake them up too. I'm like trying to be their Morpheus.
And they're like, "Dude, I do not want that. I want the blue pill, dude, leave me
Yeah.
alone."
I go into my little sister's room and I'm like, "You're not going to believe what the Freemasons did in 1967." And she's like, "Get out of my room." And so yeah, like that's when I really started waking up
Mhm,
to things and looking into things and questioning things more. So I had a basis of understanding of what Israel was, what Zionism was, um, and then their corruption and relationship with American politics and
mhm.
so on and so forth. And then, fast forward, I joined the military. I joined the Matrix. I joined the military industrial complex, do my thing, which is something I always wanted to do.
Mhm.
And
But then now, yeah, hindsight looking back, like, at the time, I was, like, ready to die. I'm like, "Dude, we're fighting these wars, we're killing these terrorists."
yeah,
And now looking back, I'm like, "Dude, we were fighting all these wars for, like, Israel and, like, bullshit politicians."
which on one side, I knew that going into the Marine Corps, but it was something I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I kind of through, I don't know, cognitive dissonance or whatever, kind of coped and convinced myself that, well, even though we're fighting these wars on behalf of politicians and billionaires in Israel, we're still killing bad guys and stuff, and they still had some involvement in 9/11, so
Mhm,
I'll do that, and then when I get out, it'll give me tools, it'll give me expertise. I wanted to do, like, contracting when I got out. I wanted to do cool guy stuff.
mhm.
I was the kid that played airsoft and GI Joes in my backyard all the time, so I wanted to do it, and I thought it was a good way to serve my country, and I thought it'd give me good experience and life experience and all these things, which it did. So I did that, and then when I got out, right when I got out, the transition you asked at the beginning of, like, Marine Corps to influencer life, right when I got out, I remember being in the chow hall in Pendleton. I had, like, a week left. Um, what? No, I had a couple weeks left, because it was October 7th. I remember when October 7th happened in 2023 when, when Israel enacted the Hannibal Directive on their own people, and when they allowed, even though they had the intelligence to know before it happened that Hamas was gonna hop the border and attack the Israelis at the music festival. So that happened, October 7th happened.
And the Hannibal Directive, is that like a stand down,
It's
like,
a stand down
contingency?
order.
Okay.
It's a stand down order.
Because they were also funding,
Well,
like, sending
excuse
millions
me,
to them,
it's not
right?
just a stand down order, it's giving the IDF the green light to allow their citizens to be killed or even kill them to pull more sympathy from, uh, the public.
And it's called
And
the Hannibal
also
Directive?
yes, the Hannibal Directive, and this is a real document, you can look it up, this is real, military, tactics of the IDF, but it's also because they don't want hostages.
Mhm.
So if an Israeli gets captured, the IDF will, through the Hannibal Directive, they will kill that hostage themselves as to not let them be a ransom for Palestinian, prisoners. Because when Hamas gathered uh, those uh, those hostages,
Mhm.
they had to have a hostage exchange, and Hamas they wanted like 100 times the amount of Palestinians to be freed in exchange for one Israeli citizen
Yeah.
hostage because Israel has thousands of Palestinians imprisoned, and so to not let the enemy have leverage of hostage exchange and also to pull sympathy from uh, the global community, they will enact the Hannibal Directive. And there's plenty of whistleblowers that have said on October 7th they did enact the Hannibal Directive and stand down orders so that that could happen because they needed a great scapegoat, a great reason to have war with Hamas, which they've always been at war with Hamas
Mhm.
and the Palestinians, but they needed a big reason to start a big war and decimate Gaza.
Yeah.
So they allowed all that to happen, and they did have intelligence. And if you look at the border between Gaza and that portion of Israel, and I've been there, not to that border, but I've been to like occupied West Bank. Dude, there's no way. There's no way. There's no way that on little flying saucers,
Yeah.
these these Hamas militants are going to hop the border and cause any lasting damage.
Because you can see, like, it's right? Like, it's very you can see very far.
Yes, and they have Palantir surveillance technologies that they've had long
Yeah.
before October 7th that
That's what never made sense. They're supposed to be, like, the surveillance tech
oh,
capital of the
yes,
world, but they
they
couldn't
are.
detect this on their border where they know there's this
They
conflict.
have the Pegasus system. The Pegasus
Mhm.
system is a net that encapsulates all of Israel and Palestine. Once you go into that net, your device is theirs.
Really?
So every
Because I know
device
they have
there,
that
they have it.
software, but they just have that.
Yes, look up the Pegasus system. All those devices are theirs. They have Palantir that's been working there in Palestine for years. So they have all this intelligence. They have all this data. They have all this surveillance. They're supposedly the greatest intelligence agency, Mossad, on the planet. And yet they didn't know it was going to happen. And it took 7 or 9 hours till they could respond. It's the size of New Jersey. The country is the size of New Jersey, roughly.
Mhm.
That's like you getting attacked. You guys are getting attacked in your home by like 50 gang members, and they come to your home and they start shooting at your windows and shooting at your doors, and they're firing rockets at you. And it takes the cops 7 or 9 hours to get and respond. No, it doesn't happen
Yeah.
that way. So I don't know where we were going with this.
It's just their bullshit. I think that was the angle. It's like just all this bullshit. And then the fact that like if they were just straight up about it, I feel like I would have more respect for them. Like, yeah, we're doing this and this is why we're doing it. But it's like all this like you can't talk about this or this backhanded like shadiness.
Yes, and that's why they doctored up and lied about the crimes that happened on October 7th, saying that there was babies being beheaded and burned alive. And
Dude, I'm not gonna say his name because I don't want to get sued. So I was the president of this organization in San Diego. Um during, like, all this October 7th stuff, and it was shortly afterwards. But he was an attorney, and he's like, "Hey, like, at this upcoming event, I want you to talk to your board, and I will pay you guys I'll donate to your, like, organization." It was either 5 or, like, 8 grand if you play this Hamas hostage video it was a political group of, like it was, like, some Israeli propaganda movie, and it was, like, talking about all of the hostages, like, all this bad
yeah.
stuff. He's like, "I'll pay you this much to, like, just play this at your event." And I was like, No." I thought that was weird, but now looking back, I'm like, "Dude, it's crazy, the shit that they'll do."
Yeah, they needed global sympathy for what happened on October 7th so that they could have um, the approval of the global community and governments to go as hard as they did on the Gazans. So they needed to have another Holocaust,
So
right?
when did you go to, like, the West Bank and all that? Was that before, like, October 7th and this kicked off, or
No, this was May and April of last year, 2025. So this was when it
Oh, shit, so
during the
recent.
height, like, this was during one of the high points of the genocide in Gaza.
So what made you decide to go out there?
I wanted to see it for myself. I wanted to not just be a talking head, uh, who regurgitates the same talking points on the internet. I wanted to go and see it for myself
Mhm.
and see what was going on, because you hear so many different things coming from either side, and I wanted to have real credible experience seeing it firsthand, and also, I wanted to try to well, initially, when I started making content on this topic, like the Real Clyde Instagram page, I started making content on Palestine,
And so
what
it
was
was more
going
of,
on
like,
there.
kind of covering the situation.
Yeah, yeah, I wanted to cover it, but the reason I started making content on that specific topic was because I was fed up with what I was seeing in the news and on social media, and I have some connections there, at, the embassy in Jerusalem, and the consulate in Tel Aviv, and so I initially was gonna donate because I was like, "Okay, I'm tired of seeing all of this stuff going on." Um, Going back to, like, the crash and, like, my self-righteous path of being a good person since surviving that, I was like, how can I help?" So, I thought about donating, and I was gonna donate, like, a decent amount of money to something, but I couldn't find any good organizations to send the money to, and so I was like, "Okay, if I'm not gonna donate, and if that's not really gonna, make it much of a difference, why don't I just go there?" And at this point, I'm making a full-time living as a content creator.
Mm.
I've got the time, I've got the means, opportunity, and so I'm like, "Okay, I'll just go." I've got connections there, I know people there at the embassy, I'll just go.
Mhm.
I'm a Christian anyways, so be cool to see the Holy Land, and so I'm like, "I'll go see it for myself," so I go there.
And so you already had a pretty big media footprint at this point. Were you worried about, like, getting hemmed up, like, in
A little bit,
Israel
yeah,
once you landed?
a little bit. Uh,
You're like, "Dude, I'm on a list somewhere for Israel. I know there's gotta be
yeah.
a list."
I knew I was probably on some sort of a list, but I played it smart because I went during Passover.
Mm.
So, I don't wanna give away too many of my cards, but, on Passover, it's a Jewish holiday and they're not supposed to work. Like, on Shabbat, you don't work.
Yeah.
During Passover, they don't work.
Mhm.
So, like, businesses are closed, um, restaurants are closed, even government workers, a lot of them don't work. So, I was like, "Okay,
Little cheat code.
if I go during Passover, there might be less government employees at the airport or working, probably a good time to go," which it was, and it worked out. So I get to the airport in Tel Aviv, and before I go, I kind of get some briefings from people and on like what to expect, what to watch out for, what not to do. And I get told that every airport that has a direct connection to Tel Aviv has Mossad agents working at the gate everywhere. So Dubai, Abu Dhabi.
Oh, like, at the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
nation
yeah.
like, the
Yeah,
departure
yeah, yeah.
nation's
Yep,
gate.
the departure. So, like,
Oh,
I flew out
shit.
of Abu Dhabi. I was in Dubai for a friend's wedding, the week prior, and then I was like, "I'm just gonna hop over from Abu Dhabi." So I go to Abu Dhabi, and I was told at the gate, in these countries, they're here in America at the if there's a city or an airport here in the States that has a direct flight to Tel Aviv, there's Mossad agents there.
Mm. And just, like, undercover.
Yeah. Hot Israeli chick,
Mhm.
typical honeypot, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, what are you going to Israel for? Where are you staying? What are you doing? Oh, that's great. Have a lovely trip," and track you from there. Um, so I get told that, and I'm at the airport in Abu Dhabi, and I had a top secret clearance in the military. I was an MSG. I wasn't like some spook or crazy like experienced guy with counterintelligence or surveillance, but I had some training on it.
Mhm.
I you know I check my hotels when I check in. I know how to check hotels. I know how to check for bugs. I know how to like kind of watch my back. I've been to 27 countries, so I'm not like new at this. I'm going in with some experience and knowledge of what I'm getting into, and So I'm mentally preparing myself. When I get to Abu Dhabi, there's certain things you want to do with your phone before you go, so they can have access to it or limited access,
Mm,
should I say. So I'm preparing to go, get on my flight, make it to Tel Aviv. I'm not sure if I'm going to get let in because, figuring who I am. And so I get to the immigration counter and there's one lady working because it's Passover. So there's not many people, not many employees are working during Passover, which went in my favor. And she lets me right on through.
mm.
I didn't even book a hotel until I got through
Yeah, so
because
you
I
didn't
didn't know if
know.
I was going to get let in. So I get through immigration and I grab my bags. I book a hotel real quick, get a taxi, go to Jerusalem. I stayed at a hotel, the Notre Dame in East Jerusalem, which is one stone throw away from the old city,
Mm,
um, which East Jerusalem is still internationally recognized as Palestine. So Israel uh, took East Jerusalem and Jerusalem in general in 1967 during the Second Intifada. But East Jerusalem is still internationally recognized as Palestine. All of Jerusalem
mm.
should be. Um, but this portion, East Jerusalem, this is Palestine. So I go and stay in East Jerusalem. I stay in Palestine. I want to be there. I don't want to be in the Israeli side. So I go to my hotel and, I check my room and I check my room. I leave my traps there. Like when you stay in a room, you can leave, if you've ever, like, interviewed a Navy SEAL, ask them about this because they probably do the same thing, or especially Green Berets or anybody who is in any intelligence agency. When I would leave my room, I would leave certain items in specific
Mm,
places, and I would take a picture of it to make sure they were still there. So, like my laptop,
mhm,
I would leave my laptop open, but I would put, like, a a little card in between the F and the K,
mhm,
and I would know that that card is between the F and the K. If it gets moved, I know somebody was here and they tampered
mhm,
with my laptop or whatever. And you can do things to your door. You can leave stuff on the top of the door, the little latch.
mhm.
If it opens that, you can put a can up there on the top of the latch. If they open it, the can falls off. Somebody was there. So I was doing like all that stuff. I was like kind of sketched out
And how long were you there for?
about a week.
Okay.
So I'm there in Jerusalem and like, also, I'm a Christian, so I'm like, "Wow, I'm in Jerusalem. This is sick. This is super cool." So, it's a two-part trip for me. It's 1, I wanna see what's going on in Palestine.
Mhm,
2, I wanna be a Christian pilgrim. So, the first day, I meet up with a friend who's there, and, he kinda shows me around Jerusalem. We walk around, get lunch. He shows me the old city. I'm taking it in, and then, the second day I'm there was also a Jerusalem day. So, I go, like, to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. I go to, the Garden, of Gethsemane and all the other places that I can make it to in one day,
mhm,
walk the Via Dolorosa, do all that Christian pilgrim stuff, and then the 3rd day was the day I was supposed to go to the West Bank, and I didn't really have anything set up. I wanted to try to go and, like, help a food bank, like, load trucks with rice or something, but
mhm.
that wasn't really going on. The blockade was happening at that time. It was kinda starting to ramp up, the food and aid blockade,
Well, that's crazy because they were, like, intercepting aid sent from other countries.
and bombing it too.
That's crazy. Or, like, opening up rice or, like, again, I'm just seeing stuff online and, like, shooting people as they would come.
Yep. Yeah, I remember, it's like a week before I went, uh, that incident where the IDF literally ambushed, 3 ambulances,
I didn't
like
hear about that.
a convoy of ambulances. There was 3 ambulances,
Mhm,
that was it. There wasn't any lead vehicle, there wasn't any tactical vehicles. It was 3 red and white, clear as day ambulances
mhm.
driving into Gaza or driving into Rafah, and they got ambushed by the IDF. And one of the, paramedics had his phone rolling, and he caught it all on camera until he got killed.
Oh, shit.
And they ambushed 3 ambulances, just ambulances, driving
Can
into
you look that
Rafah.
up?
This was in May of 2020 no, March of 2025, but I remember seeing that before. I'm like, "Dude, this is nuts." Like, they literally just picked off, like, a bunch of paramedics and
It's
EMTs.
crazy. Well, and it was, I remember what was it? I think it was Theo Von had, like, a doctor on who, like, volunteered in Gaza, and he's talking about, like, the hospitals getting bombed, like, that was one of the last hospitals that was, still standing, and then they were sniped like, a lot of kids would come in, and they'd have, like, gunshot wounds directly to the head, to the
Yeah.
chest, like, they were intentionally targeting these
Yes,
kids.
intentionally sniping kids, and then I have a video of there's, like, 3 IDF soldiers, it's a sniper team, and you can hear them, they're talking the whole time, they're like, "Shoot the kid. Shoot that one, the one in the gray shirt, shoot him." And then in the video, it's like a camera video, a phone pointed down the the scope,
Mhm.
and you can see the kid in the crosshair, and you can hear them saying, "Shoot the kid," and then they shoot the kid, and then they start laughing.
God, dude. It it's so fucking crazy because it's like the media, like, we have all this, like, we know, like, we aren't making this shit up, and our government is still paying for it, covering it up. I gotta pee real quick. Wanna
I
take a
do
pee break?
too.
Alright, let's do
Yeah.
it. Yeah, and we're back. No, dude, my family nobody's my family's Orthodox. One of my family members, I brought them to, like, a pre-sanctified liturgy before Pascha, and, they came, and it was intense, like, there's prostrations, like, doing all that. And then the next morning, we're out having coffee and they're like, "What are you getting into? Like, what is this?" And I'm like, "What is this is like the church." And I explain all of it, like, this is a lineage. And they're like, "But you grew up Baptist. You're a Baptist. You're not this or that." And I'm like, so I think it was like, like the family who aren't familiar with it think you're like getting into a cult.
Yeah.
How about you? How's your experience with your family?
I've taken one of my sisters and my older brother to a liturgy separate. I took my little sister to a liturgy at my parish in DC, and then I took my brother to a liturgy. It was a Greek church in St. Louis. Um, Nobody thinks that I'm in like a cult or anything crazy like that. They're not like opposed to my conversion.
Mm,
I think they're actually more happy to see it because for 7 years I wasn't going to church or doing anything. Period. I was just living a secular life. So I think they're just happy to see me back in church.
yeah.
So my dad is the one who's the most, um, I guess maybe skeptical
Mhm.
or inquisitive about it. He's the last one I would see ever converting. It's probably not going to happen. But I think my mom is close.
Really?
Yeah, she hasn't been to a liturgy, but she asks me questions a lot. She
Mhm.
watches, like, Father Josiah Trenum
Mm,
in YouTube videos.
yeah.
Um, my sister thought it was interesting, but she's in the Navy, and
Okay.
she's actually stationed in Guam, so I don't think they even have Orthodoxy there.
Hmm.
I doubt they have any parishes in Guam.
I know, I wonder if like I was telling you, my buddy, he converted in Okinawa because the only chaplain there was an Orthodox chaplain.
Mhm.
But, yeah, dude, I feel like with anything, you have to have an open mind. Like, people that naturally like, say, jujitsu, people who are naturally like, "Nope, never even doing that, never trying that," like, closed-minded to, like, trying new things. I feel like that translates with, like, looking into orthodoxy. Because if you at least keep your mind open and start looking into it, like, it's obviously the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always had a very open mind with anything. Like, going back to when I was in high school, starting to look into conspiracy theories and stuff, like, I was always had kind of a proclivity to be open-minded
Mhm.
and explore things and look deeper into things, and if I find the evidence to be compelling and truthful, I'm open to shifting my mindset on
Yeah.
it,
There's
which I
no
think
bias,
anybody.
it's like, I'm trying to
Yeah,
find the truth here.
but that's a hard, that's a difficult trait to find in people, is, people who are open to things that are foreign to them
Mm,
or seemingly antithetical or paradoxical to what they already believe. So, if somebody like me was raised Protestant their entire life, that's their whole phronema, that's their whole worldview.
mhm.
That's who they identify with. That's how
Yeah.
they identify themselves. That's their identity. So they're then changing their whole identity, their whole worldview. And that's a very difficult thing to ask of like 90% of people,
And then when you
98%
bring
of
it up
people.
to loved ones or family or friends, then it's challenging their identity because you're like, wait, am I wrong?
Exactly. And then they start to question everything,
Mm.
which I've been through those phases where I had to question everything. I felt like uh, these new doors were opening and I have to question everything. I have to question this, that, or the other. But whatever it is, and this goes, it's not just for Protestants, it's for anybody, atheists, Muslims, Jewish people, Mormons, Protestants, Catholics, even Orthodox, is cognitive dissonance and bias takes shape so profoundly in their mind that they don't want to even explore the option that they might be wrong about something so integral to
Mm.
their identity.
Mhm.
And religion is the most integral thing for pious people. So if you have a pious, very devout Protestant, they are not going to want to be proved wrong on their theology or their way of thinking.
Yeah, especially if their parents and their grandparents, like, they're all the same.
Yes. And so trying to convince Christian Zionism or Christian Zionists that Israel is not our greatest ally and we don't have to bless them, that's very difficult.
Dude, speaking of our greatest ally, you just got this pulled up. So going back to that ambulance story. So we're reading this from the BBC. So while the reported number of ambulances involved fluctuates based on the specific incident being tracked, because there's a lot of them, such as the widely documented March 2025 attack on a humanitarian convoy that included 5 ambulances, or the November 2023 strike on an ambulance convoy outside Al Shifa Hospital. Israeli forces have repeatedly struck emergency vehicles, medical facilities, and humanitarian workers in Gaza. Dude, that's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, so that happened like I said, like a week before I went to Palestine. And so that was fresh in my mind and it kind of gave me more motivation to go and expose it.
Because there's no mistaking that. They're targeting these people on purpose because they're helping the people they're trying to genocide.
Yes.
Click that
And they're Goyim.
next one to the right. Okay, and this was what we were talking about earlier. I wanted to check it out. So again, this is from Wikipedia. This is also on some other news outlets. Israel's Hannibal Directive or Hannibal Protocol is a controversial Israel Defense Forces military doctrine that authorizes the use of maximum force to prevent the capture of Israeli soldiers by enemy forces. It operates on the principle that a dead soldier is preferable to a kidnapped soldier, effectively allowing the military to risk or even intentionally target their captive to prevent their abduction. So kill their own forces or citizens to prevent abduction. Wow.
Yeah, and this was touted as a conspiracy, an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory for the longest time, but it is a real directive. It is a real order.
Well, and what's the other one? The Samson?
The Samson option is like,
Like we're gonna nuke everybody.
yeah, nuke everybody as a last ditch effort to not get overthrown or defeated.
Can you look that up? The Samson option? Yeah, man, dude, it's called the Samson option.
The Samson option because it comes from the story of Samson when he destroyed the temple by pushing the pillars down and just destroy everything, just kill
Mhm.
everybody.
Okay, we'll just read the blur. The Samson option is believed to refer to Israel's plan for overwhelming nuclear retaliation against non-nuclear adversaries if the country faces an imminent threat. So yeah, so that's what I had read. So they'll attack whoever's attacking them and whichever allies fail to come to their rescue.
Yes.
That's crazy. So like if America said, "Hey, you're on your own. We're not backing you up anymore." Like there's this that they might nuke us because we stopped helping them.
Yeah, they have nukes, but they don't really admit it. They allude to it. They say that, uh, what they're doing in Iran, it doesn't scratch the surface of the weaponry they have. What does that mean?
Hmm.
Um, they tease the idea of it, you know. So the Samson option is I haven't looked super deep into like where it originated from or the actual documentation on it, but they have nukes and they're willing to use them.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, so whenever you were in there, so going back to your trip, did you see anything that surprised you whenever you were in Israel or the West Bank?
Yeah, I mean, a lot that surprised, open-ended question, but, I had never been there,
Mm,
and you can only read so much or watch so much. Going to a place and experiencing it firsthand will give you the best, uh, insight and enlightenment on it. So, it did confirm a lot of, opinions of mine. Um,
how
these
so?
well, it just strengthened my opinion on what Israel is doing to the
Mhm,
Palestinians. Because it's not just an article I'm reading or a book that I'm reading or a video that I'm watching or a news reporter talking about it. It's me actually seeing it firsthand.
mhm,
So, like, you go to the West Bank, and the West Bank is Palestine.
mhm.
It's
And it's and I'm kind of ignorant on the details, but West Bank has historically been occupied by, like, non-Jews, like, that area, that was the agreement, or what's that situation again?
how far back do you want to go?
Just, I guess, a light summary, like, the current state of what's happening right there. I know it's
It's a
difficult.
land that's been around for thousands of years. It's hard to do a light summary, but yeah. So
Essentially, the Israelis are taking that land.
they're annexing the West Bank. They want to continue annexing the West Bank and take it because it's a part of Greater Israel. It's a part of their ancestral homeland.
Mhm.
It was given to them 3,000 years ago by God to their prophet Abraham, who's actually the Christian prophet.
And so
Um,
whenever they're hearing, like, in the news, like, settlers and stuff, that's just Israelis going into places like the West Bank and kicking people out of homes.
yes, quite literally. As recent as I know, and this was February when I looked at the numbers last, but there's over 700,000 illegal Israeli settlers illegally occupying the West Bank. So the West Bank, again, like I said, is Palestine. It's sovereign. It should be sovereign Palestine, Palestinian territory, Palestinian land. Um, It does have its own border that borders, the other part of occupied Palestine, which some people call Israel, and, Jordan. Um, and so what the Israelis are doing is they're sending in settlers, and they're subsidizing them, and these settlers don't have jobs. These settlers don't contribute to the economy. They're getting compensated by the Israeli government, which by you and me, more accurately,
Mhm.
because 'cause we're paying our taxes and that's going to Israel. So we're subsidizing them to go occupy
And
foreign
that's not even a
territory.
theory, like, at the bare minimum, we're giving them, like, guarantee, like, what is, like, 4.5 billion a year? At bare minimum,
Yeah.
just in, like, the NDAAs.
Well, in Trump's presidency, and again, this is numbers that I saw back in October of last year, in Trump's 2 terms, he's given them roughly 27 billion, or during his terms, we've given them roughly 27 billion.
Have you seen those clips around where they're, like, calling him the first Jewish president?
Yeah. But anyways, with the West Bank, to give a brief synopsis on the history of it, it's been Palestine I since 135 AD. So in 135 AD, Emperor Hadrian banished the Jewish people from the land at that time, which was referred to as Judea. Now, Jesus lived in ancient Judea. This is where ancient Jerusalem was. This is where Jesus was crucified. This is Judea. It was a Roman colony. It was under the Roman Empire at that time, but the Jews inhabited it. The descendants of the Israelites at that time, the Pharisees, Sadducees, uh, all those people inhabited that land, but it was under Roman occupation. In 70 AD, during the Roman Jewish Wars, the Romans destroyed the Second Temple, and then in 135 AD, Emperor Hadrian banished the Jews from Judea, and he renamed that land as Syria Palestina,
Mm.
which Syria Palestina actually pops up earlier in history from um, who was it? The historian Herodotus. Hundreds of years ago, Herodotus even referenced that land as uh, Palestine, or a derivative of that word. But we hear that word being associated with that land in 135 AD with Emperor Hadrian. And the reason that he rechanged it to that, specifically Syria Palestina, was because it was in homage to the Philistines, who were the longtime enemy of the Israelites.
Mm.
So, out of spite for the Jewish people, he called it Syria Palestina. Now, that land for the next 1800 years has been widely disputed, right? It was Christian lands, right? During the 300 years of roughly 300 years of persecution by the Romans and the Jewish people on the church up until 313, Christendom spread far and wide amongst Syria, Palestina, right? Like it was an underground institution. The church was being persecuted, but the religion of Christianity was spreading. So that land was predominantly Christian, and then it stayed predominantly Christian until the Muslims arrived in the 7th century. And then it was, we have the Crusades that come, and then at one point it's Christian, and then it's Muslim, and then it's Christian, and then it's Muslim, and then it's Christian and Muslim and Jewish, and then you have different quarters, right? So there's a lot of history of it being in different hands.
Hmm.
Now, fast forward to the late 1800s, it's under Ottoman rule. This is shortly before World War I. It's under Ottoman rule, and at that time, the people who are living there are the indigenous people. It's not like they just all left and came back. Whether they were Christian or Muslim, they were there, and
Hmm.
their ancestors had been there for thousands of years. These are the Palestinians. Now, if you trace the genetic bloodline of the Palestinians today, you can see that they have ancestral connection to the land.
Yeah, and
Far
like
more
none
than the
of
Ashkenazi Jews
they
who
won't do
have.
blood tests or genetic tests.
No, they won't. It's very difficult for Ashkenazi Jews to get genetic tests because it will actually show that very few of them have genetic ties to that land, to the
Mhm.
people of that land. Whereas the Palestinians, you can look at their genetic uh, relation to the land and it correlates.
And you can look at like their skin tone. It's like, okay, this one's pasty white, is probably from Eastern Europe, cloudy, like,
Yeah.
and this one's tan. Okay.
And so today you still have this melting pot amalgamation of the different religions, right? So the Palestinian blood, it's been there. Whether the Palestinian blood centuries ago were Christians or Muslims, there was a large conversion,
Mhm.
a forced conversion of Christians to Islam. There were Jewish people who have lived there and been driven out and persecuted and then lived there all throughout these centuries. So for a long time, it's been partly Jewish, Christian, and Muslim. But those are the religions. What is the people, the makeup, the genetic makeup of the people that live there? It's Palestinian. So in the West Bank, those people have been there for thousands of years. They
Mhm.
have genetic ancestral tie to that land, much like the Native Americans here in America. Like
Mhm.
their ancestors have been here long before you or I had ancestors that came here, right? If that makes
Mhm.
sense. And so now what the Jewish people, the Zionists are doing, and it's not even just Israelis, and I try my best not to call them Israeli settlers. I call them Jewish Zionist settlers
Mhm.
because the common denominator amongst those people is not that they're all Israeli,
Mhm.
it's that they're Jewish Zionists.
Yeah, because I've seen some clips and they're like, "Where are you from?" And like, "I'm from New York," or
Yeah.
like whatever, and they're like just getting flown in from, yeah, the States or Europe and then taking these people's homes.
If I was Jewish, if I had a Jewish mother or something, I could go and get a plot of land in the West Bank granted to me by the Israeli government. And that happens. And you have
Yeah.
European Jewish people, you have Sephardic Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish people, you have Jewish people that are not Israeli citizens
Mhm.
who are then immigrating there and becoming colonizers and settlers illegally in the West Bank. So I don't call them Israeli settlers because the common denominator, like I said, is Judaism and Zionism that's pulling them there because
Mhm.
the idea, the perspective in their mind, in those people's minds, is that this plot of land, the entirety of the West Bank, belonged to my ancestors,
Mhm.
and it's the Jewish homeland. And so anybody who is here who is not Jewish does not have a right to be here because it's always been ours.
Mhm.
But when you look at, like I said, the genetics of Ashkenazi Jews,
Yeah.
they come from Khazaria. They're Khazar Jews. They converted after the diaspora. After Emperor Hadrian banished them from Judea in 135 AD, there was this massive diaspora of the Jewish people all over the Near East, Africa, and Europe. And so then there was a big push to get them back. When the Jewish question starts popping up centuries ago, and some people will say that it started with the Germans in 1930s. No, the Jewish question has been around for centuries. And the
Mm.
Jewish question was, Jewish people are not assimilating and they're getting persecuted in Europe.
Hmm.
And so there was a lot of countries that didn't want Jewish populations. You have the Spanish Inquisition. They got kicked out of Europe, of different parts of Europe.
And this is all really well documented.
Yeah, this isn't an anti-Semitic trope. This is objective history. We can analyze objective history and ask ourselves, why did this happen?
Hmm.
Let's just ask why. We don't have to make any assumptions. Let's just say, okay, we analyze this history. Why did it go that way? Why did it happen that way? So the Jewish question is popping up in Europe, and it's been passed around for centuries. It did not originate in Germany in the 1930s or 1920s or 1940s. And so the idea was to bring the Jewish people to a sovereign state of their own because of the diaspora in 135 AD. And then there was a good deal of Catholic persecution, like when the First Crusade happened in 1099 AD. The Catholic Crusaders actually they did slaughter a lot of people. Estimates anywhere from 10 to 40,000 people were slaughtered in Jerusalem
Mm.
when the Catholic Crusaders took it in 1099.
Oh yeah, I think I've read about that because then like the Muslim guys were like talking like, dude, you guys are worse than we are. You're killing all these. Like they kind of
Yeah,
held
there's
that.
a debate of who was more magnanimous,
Mhm.
who was a more fair ruler, the Christians or the Muslims to the Jewish people. But again, we were talking about Catholics,
Yeah.
not Orthodox, because when the Catholics came, they actually killed Orthodox
Oh yeah, it
Christians
was
as
like the
well.
Fourth Crusade, right? Whenever they didn't go all the way to the
Well, the
Holy
Fourth
Land
Crusade, yeah,
and they
it
turned to
was the sack of
Constantinople.
Constantinople. They sacked Constantinople. That's a different story. But when they came to Jerusalem during the First Crusade, actually, the First Crusade was the People's Crusade, which is a massive failure. But the actual legitimate First Crusade in 1099, when the Catholics came, they slaughtered just everybody.
Everybody's getting it.
Everybody. This is going to be Catholic now. And so they killed Orthodox Christians, they killed Jews, they killed
Dang.
Muslims. And so back to the diaspora, these Jewish people had fled to all these different countries. And you get the Sephardic Jews, you get the Ashkenazi Jews and these different diasporas of Jews. And they went to Morocco, they went into Africa, they went into Persia, the different parts of the Middle East, Jordan,
And I guess like
Iraq.
where a lot of this starts to like take form, from my understanding, is like the late 1800s, early 1900s with like the centralization of banking and like this banking monetary power, right? To help
Yeah.
establish this.
Yes, they had a crucial role in that. I mean, that comes through the Balfour Declaration, which was partially drafted up by the Rothschilds. I think it was uh, Baron Rothschild. You can fact check me. It was one of the Rothschilds that helped draft the Balfour Declaration. Um, and there's a theory on that. Back to the Jewish question. After the diaspora, the Jewish people, they get spread out all over the world, and you have a large portion of Ashkenazi Jewish people in Europe,
Mhm.
in Eastern, Western Europe, and they either can assimilate or they're getting persecuted for no reason. One of the two is true, or maybe a mix of both. However you want to chalk it up, the Jewish people are not uh, they're not coexisting
Mhm.
well with European populations, and they get kicked out during the Spanish Inquisition. They get kicked out uh, in other countries in other centuries, and so this Jewish question pops up: what do we do with the Jewish populations because they're not assimilating? We don't want them here. They don't want to be here. Um, and so in the late or mid to late 1800s is when you get a big push from different sources trying to answer the Jewish question. And one of those key figures was Moses Hess. He was alive in the mid and late 1800s, and he tried uh, to come up with a answer to the Jewish question. And his answer was, well, the Jewish people should have their own homeland where they're not persecuted anywhere because we're not assimilating, we're not fitting in anywhere we go. We just need to have our own country. And so he pushes for Palestine.
Mm.
And he actually, in his book that he wrote, Rome and Jerusalem, he actually refers to that plot of land as Palestine. He doesn't call it Israel.
Mhm.
He doesn't call it the Levant. He calls it Palestine. So even back then, and a Jewish philosopher, a German Jewish philosopher in the 1800s who is pushing for the Jewish people to have a homeland, he refers to it as Palestine. So
Mm.
it's ironic and hilarious when people like Benjamin Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, Smoltrich, and these other people in the Likud party or Jewish people or Zionists or whatever, they say Palestine never existed. One of your philosophers who actually was a forerunner for Zionism
Yeah.
referred to it as Palestine. He
And all you
wanted to
can
take it.
and then you can just check older maps. It's always Palestine
Yes.
on the older maps.
Yes.
Dude, I always had this idea, again, I didn't have to look too deep into it, but that Israel was just a branding choice. Like, they knew it would be super confusing for the Christian world
Yes.
if they picked the title Israel. They're like, "Dude, this is genius," because they're not gonna know the difference. And then once they make that name, then they can spin all these narratives to support that.
Yeah, that comes later with the Schofield Bible, which we can get into. But the way this
The November 2nd, 1917, the Balfour Declaration was a public pledge by the British government supporting the establishment of a national home for Jewish people. It contained a letter from Arthur Balfour to Lord Rothschild. Yeah, so yeah, the Rothschilds were like a really well-established banking family at this point and essentially established this. But anyways, what were you saying? I
uh
feel like there's a lot more to it. Like he was bragging about like he created Israel.
yeah, so it has a lot to do with the well, let's just call it the Jewish bankers. I mean, they're Jewish and they're bankers and they have a lot of pull. But the Rothschilds, the theory, and you can people can look this up for themselves. I'll just call it a theory, but you can connect the dots for yourself. But the theory is that during World War One, Britain was in a stalemate with Germany,
Mm.
and Britain wanted to win the war. And at that time, Great Britain had control over Palestine during the British Mandate for Palestine. And so Britain has Palestine. The Jewish people and the Zionists want Palestine, and Britain wants something. They want to win the war. They want to get out of the stalemate. So the theory is that the the bankers, the Rothschilds, gave Great Britain a proposition. If we can help you win this stalemate, you give us Palestine.
Mm.
If we can somehow pull America into this war to help you defeat Germany, you give us Palestine.
Mm.
Win-win. We both get something. And so what happens shortly after that? America gets drawn into World War I. The war ends. Germany gets defeated. England and America, the war is ended, and we know how that goes. And then the Balfour Declaration comes to fruition. And at that time, even before then, Jewish people had started immigrating. This is pre World War I. This is like 1800s, late 1800s.
Mhm.
Jewish people, and I can't call them Israelis because Israel doesn't exist at
Yeah.
this point in time. Jewish people from Europe start to immigrate to Palestine, to what's called Palestine,
Mm.
during the Ottoman occupation and during the British occupation of Palestine. What they're doing is they're going there either legally and then staying past their visa end date, or they're immigrating illegally.
Mm.
And this starts in the 1800s, and this is well documented. It's not a conspiracy theory. You can look this up. And into the 1900s. And so these Jewish settlers, immigrants, are coming in. And what they do is they establish three militias or terrorist organizations, the Irgu, the Haganah, and the Lehi.
Mm.
And these were armed forces. And you could look all this
Yeah,
up.
and some of those leaders became like prime minister, like government positions once they
Yes.
established Israel, right?
Ben Gurion.
Yeah.
Yes, he was a part of these organizations. And then those organizations turn into the IDF.
Which are legitimate terrorist organizations for their time because I think
They bombed
They-
the King David Hotel.
yeah,
They
and they
bombed the
killed like
Embassy.
British citizens.
They were killing British citizens, attacking British barracks,
Mm.
attacking Palestinian villages. They were attacking anybody there that wasn't Jewish.
Mhm.
In the late 1800s, early 1900s, this is before Israel is even a state. This is Jewish people
Yep.
who are illegally occupying Palestine, and they don't care who has control over that land. What they're going to do is they're going to kill to get the land. This is what they've always done.
Mhm.
They're willing to do anything to get that land. And then they were such a pariah on the British and the British militaries bombed the King David Hotel, bombed the embassy, attacked barracks, attacked the Palestinians, would attack them on roadside ambushes randomly. They became this big problem and pariah. And then the Balfour Declaration comes to fruition. And then, we fast forward into World War II. The events of World War II happen. The camps come about. Jewish people are put into camps. Then the war ends, Germany loses, and then what happens in 1948 is those Jewish people in Europe, they get sanctioned to go to Palestine and create the nation state of Israel in 1948. And Ben-Gurion, who was a part of these terrorist organizations, becomes the first prime minister of Israel. And then those terrorist organizations, the Urdu, Haganah, and Lehi, it's become the IDF.
And that probably, like, laid all the groundwork and the foundation for the tactics, the beliefs, like, the ideology.
Yep. And
Well,
then
do
they just continued doing the same thing. So after 1948, when they become an actual state, an
Mhm.
actual country, and now they have the backing of the United States, right? After that, then they have financial support. Now they're legitimate.
Mm.
And then they go and they start attacking the Palestinians even more and encroaching on their land even more. So there was an original border drawn. What you see Gaza to be on a
Mhm.
map and the West Bank is not the border that was drawn in 1948.
Mm.
The Israelis, after 1948, were attacking and encroaching further into Palestinian territory, and then they reshaped those border lines.
Mm. That makes sense. Hey, look up Ben Gvir, Bengvir. He's a goofy ass looking motherfucker. But he's despicable. Like the stuff he talks about, like about how Palestinians like just aren't humans. Like, look at this goofy son of a bitch.
Yeah, and he recently said that for every Israeli mother that cries, 1,000 Lebanese mothers will weep, and all of Lebanon must burn. That's what he said.
And nobody's covering that either. They're just rolling right, invading Lebanon.
Yeah, they're doing the same thing to the south of Lebanon that they did to Gaza.
That's fucking
They're
wild.
dropping white phosphorus on them. They're basically flattening the entirety of southern Lebanon and using the same scapegoat that they use with Hamas to say that it's Hezbollah that we're trying to eradicate and get rid of, so we need to bomb hospitals and churches and mosques and civilian centers and residential buildings.
It's crazy, man. And like, it's not a war. Like, they're like, oh, we're fighting a war. Like, this is a genocide. Like, no one is fighting back to you.
Yeah,
Like,
and
dude.
they've broken countless ceasefires with Lebanon.
Yeah.
And the reason that we couldn't sign that memorandum of agreements with Iran is because Israel keeps bombing Lebanon and they couldn't keep up their end of the bargain with the ceasefire agreement.
Do you think anything is going to stop this Greater Israel project from coming to fruition?
Uh,
Because I feel like unless something drastic happens, like they're going to do it.
did you hear what Trump just said? Trump just said that there's credible threats against his life, and if he gets assassinated, he gave follow-on instructions, and he said, "Bomb the shit out of Iran like never seen before."
What?
And he's saying, "If I get assassinated, bomb the shit out of Iran like never seen before."
Dude, I haven't heard that.
It's just like a couple days ago. What do you think Israel will do with that information?
Dude, why would he do that? That like puts an incentive on him to get.
I've heard a theory. It's an interesting theory.
Mhm.
I'm not saying this is my theory, but it's interesting that Trump, he sees the public at an all-time high of unapproval.
Mhm.
Like, he is not liked. His poll ratings are low. He's one of the most despised presidents in history. He's not dumb. He's on social media. He sees this.
Mhm.
He has criminal charges against him, just like Netanyahu. That's why he wanted to win this election so badly, because he had criminal charges that he was exonerated and acquitted of, essentially. Um, and he's greatly disliked, and he's getting old. Somebody had a theory that Trump would fake his death and then live out the rest of his life, I don't know, wherever they took Epstein or
Mm.
the other people that they killed.
It's like a sacrificial goat for the destruction of Iran.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And then he would give up power to JD Vance or whoever, and then he would live out the rest of his days in some on some island, you know? No pun intended, pun intended. And then he would be scot-free. He could wash his hands clean from the blood of the Iranians and
Mm.
Americans and say, "Oh, I'm dead. I'm a great martyr for this country. I'm a
Yeah, and he
great martyr
goes
for
out a
Israel."
martyr.
He goes out a martyr,
Mm.
and then that green lights Israel and America to, in his words, bomb the shit out of Iran like never seen before.
That is crazy. I'll have to look into that. Dude, because yeah, it seems like Israel has just gotten bolder and bolder since October 7th of like, "Oh, nobody's gonna stop us? Alright, we're just gonna keep on going." And then as long as America's backing them, like, I don't as frustrating as it is, I don't see anybody stepping in to stop this.
No, no. I mean, I think I don't know how far, Israel will get with Greater Israel. Have you seen the map?
I have, it goes all the pull this up, Greater Israel Project. It
From the
goes
Nile to the Euphrates.
yeah.
That's a large, uh, pocket of land.
And this also isn't a fringe thing. This is like the idea of where's this patch on some of their uniforms.
It's Saudi Arabia, it's Syria, it's parts of Iraq, it's
Yep.
part
So they
all of
want more than
Lebanon.
half of Syria, half of Iraq, half of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it's huge, bro.
Yeah, a quarter of Egypt. And I mean, they're doing it. Like they're moving. They've essentially neutered Iraq, they've neutered Jordan and Syria, and they're just
Yeah.
slowly spreading out now.
Yeah, neuter's a good word. Like I said, I mean, I've said this many times, Iran is the last great threat to Israel in the region
Mhm.
because they have ballistic missiles, they're capable military, they have economic, pull with the Strait of Hormuz. We've seen they can cripple the economy globally, and they have proxy states with
Mhm.
Hezbollah, the Houthis.
Mhm.
Uh, so once they're gone, if that happens or when that happens, the greatest superpower in the region will be Israel.
Yep. And I feel like at that point, then as they grow, they won't need the backing as much of America.
No, they won't because they're also destroying our bases. This is
Because
twofold for Israel. There's 3, shall
they
we say, superpower let's break it down this way. There's 3, let's say, superpowers, big players on the board in the Middle East. There's America, there's Israel, and there's Iran.
mm,
Now, America is essentially, in my opinion, a proxy state of Israel. We've been fighting their wars in the Middle East. What business do we really have in the Middle East? They've been pulling us back there for decades. But we have so many bases there, right? We have a lot of leverage and power in the Middle East. But what's happening in this war is they're destroying our bases.
mhm,
So our infrastructure, our bases are getting destroyed and we're pulling troops out. So we're reducing our control and our footprint in the Middle East.
mhm,
And what is happening with Iran? They want to topple the regime. They want to destroy Iran and their proxies. And so then if Iran is destroyed and their proxies are destroyed, and at the same time, simultaneously, through that war and that process, America gets destroyed economically
mhm,
and militarily, and our bases get destroyed. Well, then you just removed the other 2 big players in the region,
mhm.
and the only one that has any pull and control in the region is Israel. So I think what Israel is really ultimately trying to do is they're trying to weaken America and Iran, the other 2 superpowers in the Middle East,
Mm.
and they will effectively allow us to destroy each other.
That makes sense, and I mean, that's a clear motive for constantly breaking ceasefires and keeping this going, because I think might have been Ben Gvir, one of these guys, like, the Strait of Hormuz closing benefits Israel. Like, they want the crippling of like, of these economies.
Yeah, I mean, Netanyahu has literally referred to America as the great golden calf that they will suck dry.
I've heard that, dude.
They
Man.
they wanna suck America dry. I mean, and they're doing it.
Mhm.
They're we're at the behest of them, and it's destroying our economy. Our country is more divided than ever on many fronts.
Dude, speaking of that, like, somebody who's actually, like, getting out there to try and get into politics or just be a movement in the culture, how'd you get connected to Dan Bilzerian?
I just DM'd him.
Really? You were like, "Hey, man, we got the same interests, bro."
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, man.
Um, Now he followed me a little over a year ago, and I just, like, shot him a DM, and he replied. and we've been in touch ever since.
Nice, and so I've seen some clips. So did you go to his house and, like, hang out and talk to him, or what was that
Yeah, I've
like?
been there a couple times. He's a really cool dude. He's a really genuine dude. Uh, he if he watches this, he knows he needs to get better at PR because he still has that image, that degenerate party
Mm.
lifestyle playboy image, and he has a lot of work to do to uh, dissolve that image and have people understand him for who he truly is. Because I've had a lot of people criticize me for my friendship with him.
Really?
Oh yeah, of course, because he
Oh, from, like, the moral degeneracy, like,
moral. Yeah,
standpoint?
I'm Orthodox. I'm Christian. How could you be friends with this guy? He's a playboy, party boy, drug guy.
Mm.
Uh, he's a womanizer, he's a misogynist, he's a this, he's a that. I never knew the party life Dan. I never knew him back then. I only know the Dan today, and he's nothing like that.
Yeah, and
Um,
he's denounced that on, like, a lot of podcasts, like, that was an empty, meaningless, like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
purpose.
But it's still, this is years of I guess, if you will, damage on his personal image. So it's
Yeah,
going to take a while to get rid of that. But he's running for office, and they've been using his prior life against him.
because he's running against Randy Fine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when do you know when the election is? I don't.
August 18th, I think.
Okay. I
Yeah.
hope he wins. Man, I hope Dan wins.
He does have an uphill battle. I mean, uh, they had the as wealthy as Dan is, they've got a lot more money.
Yeah, yeah, well, dude, getting rid of Thomas Massey.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of money they spent in, like, a rural Kentucky district is
Yeah,
crazy.
that one, I saw it coming, but I still had hope.
Mm.
I still had hope that Thomas Massey would pull it through, but I was in denial. I knew he was gonna get primaried out.
Dude, it was the boomers, man, like, the old
Yeah.
boomers who just
Well, it doesn't matter how much money you throw into a campaign, they print the money.
mhm,
They have way more. They always have way more. So it doesn't matter, and ultimately, I've never ran. I don't know what that process is like, but
mhm.
I've heard from many other people who have run. It ultimately comes down to who can spend more,
Yeah.
who can spend more money. Because like even James Fishback, he's got a big following on social media, but from what I hear from some insiders, is he doesn't have half the money he needs to win.
Well, and it's tough when you're running against these PACs or a PAC that have almost unlimited money.
Literally,
Yeah. Dude, so I don't get into, like, this internet drama bullshit too much, but, like, Nick Fuentes was, like, a thought leader in this space, in the culture, in the movement, Dan Bilzerian, there's this beef, each of them are, like, calling each other feds, like, what's going on with that? Like, what's your take on it, I guess? Because I feel like and again, I don't know anything about either of them personally, but I feel like Dan is a much more authentic person.
yeah, I would say so. I don't know Nick. I've never talked to Nick, never had any interaction with him. But I know Dan, I know he's a genuine person. He's very genuine. He'll tell you exactly what he's thinking. Um, so I don't know. I think Dan might have fired the first shot actually,
Really?
but there was a buildup because I've talked to Dan about his relationship with Nick in the past, and he always seemed a little unsure because
Mhm.
he invited Nick to his place. I don't know, sometime last year, I think, and he just got kind of like weird, awkward vibes off of Nick and said he was like a nerdy basement dweller with nothing to add to the life or like no life experience. He was just some nerd in his mom's basement. And he said he wasn't sure about him. He didn't know if he was a Fed. He didn't know if he was genuine.
Mhm.
He never could like put his finger on who is Nick and what is his agenda. And then there was that like passive or subtle beef for a little while, and then I guess Dan said something that opened the floodgate, and then Nick fired back, and then Dan fired back, and yeah, I wasn't too involved in it.
Yeah, it's just this whole back and forth. Because I mean, there's always the worry that you get somebody who's in the culture, in the movement, getting a lot of these people who are angry as, like, a pressure relief valve, but they're just kind of leading them around here. They lead them over here, they lead them over here, but they don't really ever do anything. And if you can potentially compromise somebody at the top of that movement, like, you never know
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
going on behind the scenes.
Oh, for sure. I'm not saying Nick isn't compromised. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying it's quite possible.
Yeah, it's and I don't know either, but, like, people like that would be a target
Oh,
to
yeah, yeah.
compromise.
But also the way they do it's not just with money. You know, they could like to say Nick got bought out. I don't think that's I don't think that's exactly what happened or would happen.
Mhm.
Nick's making good money. He's mainstream. He's very popular now. In the last like year and a half, he's become very mainstream and popular. He's making good money on his Rumble show. He makes good money on merch. I don't know if he has any like c- declared sponsors or anything like that, but I know he's making good money. So money wouldn't be the motivating factor if I were to compromise him. It would be blackmail,
Right.
which is the most powerful tool of compromising anybody.
Yeah, or leveraging, yeah, like a prison sentence or something.
Yeah, something like that. Like you can offer me genuinely any amount of money. If it's something I don't want to do, I'm not going to do it.
Mhm.
You can offer me $1 billion to go kiss the wall. I'm
I'm
not
not
going to do
doing
it.
it, dude.
I literally will not do it.
Yep.
Even if it's in secret, even if nobody takes a
Mhm.
picture, I will not kiss that damn wall for $1 billion. There's no amount of money you can offer me to make me do anything I don't want to do.
Mhm.
But if you took a video of a family member doing something compromising, or you somehow found a video of me doing something very compromising, or you threatened a family member, or you threatened me with jail, like death, sure, that'd be kind of cool to be a martyr, but I don't want to go to jail. So if let's say you took you showed me, hey, Clyde, so I just want to talk to you. I know you're a big content creator and you make content on all this stuff. And, you know, we're fine with you talking about X, Y, and Z, but on this one topic, we don't want you to talk about it anymore.
Mhm.
Or maybe you just reframe it a little bit, or maybe you don't go as hard on it, or maybe we give you these talking points and you can talk about it like this. But listen, we'll let you talk about all of this other stuff that's important to you. It's just this one right here
Mhm.
that we highlighted, we don't want you to talk about it the way that you're talking about it. And if you do that, you know, we can give you $20,000 a month. Oh, and by the way, pulls out a phone and they show a naked video of me getting out of the shower or something, or they show a video of a relative getting out of the shower or
Mhm.
something, or anything like that. And then I'm going to sit there and say, well, I don't want that getting out.
Yeah, and they're
It's
not actively
$20,000,
asking you to do something, they're just asking you to not do
not
something.
do something. And hey, you can still talk about all those other issues. You just can't touch this one.
So being, like, adjacent to that, being in social media content creation, have you had any conversations with, like, advertisers or sponsorships about, "Hey, we wanna work with you, but, like, change this, change that?"
No, never. I have a few sponsorships. I used to work with Gorilla Mind. They've never censored anything. Right now, I'm with First Form. Shout out Andy Frisilla. That guy's not going to censor anything.
No, dude.
um, who else? With a peptide company, X Factor Labs, Co-Clyde at checkout. Uh,
Nice, nice, nice plug.
they don't censor anything. So if a brand wanted to censor something, I would just say no, and we part ways, or I just wouldn't work with them.
Dude, and so speaking with that, so, like, as you're growing content, um, I guess for dudes like us, whether you're Orthodox, whether you're in want to cover current events, like politics, things kind of like what you do, just have a voice. What would be like your advice or your game plan to like advise somebody on how to start doing this?
Um, I would say have something nuanced or new to bring to the table or experience. Like for me, when my account really started blowing up, it was, you know, it really started blowing up when I was just talking about Palestine because I didn't fit the archetype.
Mm,
I didn't fit the avatar for the blue hair liberal who was, you know, flailing their arms about Palestine and
mm,
virtue signaling. I didn't fit that person. I was a freshly EAS Marine Corps veteran, bodybuilder gym dude with a mustache, long hair, Christian, white,
mhm.
all conservative, all those things that didn't fit that archetype.
Yeah. And that was, I called that from the beginning. That was a whole psyop of them trying to just make this a liberal movement to not support.
Yeah, but liberals do try to gatekeep the movement too.
Mm.
I've experienced that, them trying to gatekeep the movement and say that, "Oh, no, no, you're Clyde's conservative, he can't be with
What?
us." Oh, dude, it's a real thing, and it's
Dude, that's
super
crazy.
annoying. They're, like, totally virtue signaling and trying to gatekeep the movement as, like, this is a leftist movement and it's ours,
That's
and
so
we're gonna
dumb.
free Palestine and F you and get out of here, you white Christian nationalist, misogynist, whatever, fill in the blank ad hominem.
Dude, and I feel like that's another piece that, like, I have to keep in mind is, like, those people are also crazy. It's like, we can't forget about that branch of ideology.
There's crazy ones and there's sane ones. I've learned. When you're raised right or you're raised left, you're told the other side is the enemy, and
Mhm,
they're crazy. It's kind of like any other psyop. That is a psyop. I have noticed from my experience because I've worked with them.
mhm,
Like I would have never worked with uh, far left people in the past on like anything. Why would I? They're my enemy. They're crazy. They think I'm a a terrible person because I'm pro life or whatever. Right? Why would I work with those people? But the way that I saw the Palestinian issue was this. The analogy is there's a building on fire and there's a lot of people up there in the burning building, and I'm standing there on the sidewalk and I'm looking up and there's a crowd of people next to me, and I just go, hey, let's run up there and go help those people in the burning building. I don't say, hey, who did you vote for? What do you think about abortion? What do you think about gay marriage? What do you think about? No, I just say, let's go help the people in the building. I
mhm.
don't care who you are. If you're willing to get out there and help them, I really don't care what your background is or what other opinions you have. So that's the way I've always seen it. And
Mhm.
I think anybody who's not trying to do that is impeding and a negative person in the movement because that's all it should be. It should be helping people regardless of who you're helping them with. But there's some liberals and leftists who are on that same page. They're riding that same wave with me, and they agree there.
Mhm.
And then there are some that are not there at all, and they want to gatekeep it for the left. They want to gatekeep it for. I've literally had people send messages saying, if you don't agree with this list of things and denounce this list of things, we cannot work with you
Dude, those are just silly people.
on like the Palestinian issue.
That's
And
crazy.
none of it has anything to do with Palestine. It's like, unless I have your brain,
Mhm.
I can't work with you on freeing people getting genocided.
Yeah, and those are, like, just ideologically captured people of, like, "You're not in our tribe, you don't fit our thing, we're
Yeah,
not working together."
exactly. So, but it goes both ways. Like you have those people who try to gatekeep it, but then you have more, you know, um, civil, realistic, pragmatic liberals or leftists that
Mhm.
I have respect for. Anna Kasparian, I love Anna Kasparian. I used to despise her. I used to like hate all of her videos. But and we still have plenty of disagreements, but I love the work she's doing, and I am 100% willing to join her shoulder to shoulder
Mhm.
on this pursuit. I you know, I don't care that she has other opinions. We can disagree. We can deal with that another day. Another analogy I use on this topic is like triaging.
Mhm.
Like we need to triage this situation, and let's imagine that you're a corpsman, so you understand this. Let's imagine that there's a casualty and you run up to the casualty and you're triaging and assessing the severity of the injuries. And there's a multiplicity of injuries. This guy's got a broken foot. He's got a lacerated elbow. He's got a concussion. He's got a scrape on his armor. He's got a burn on his back. But then he has a bleeding femoral artery, right? What do you do first? Like, you've got all these problems, but what do you address first? You have to address the massive hemorrhaging. You have to stop the bleeding. Otherwise, the broken foot, the bruised elbow, it's not going to matter.
Mhm.
It's not going to be there. The guy's going to be dead. So what we have to do, and I've been trying to push this to the right and to the left, is to say, let's triage the situation and let's attack the massive hemorrhaging and stop the bleeding. And then we can address these bruises and bumps and scrapes later.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we'll never get to them.
And so do you see that as, like, that hemorrhaging as, like, focusing on bringing people together first or, like, focusing on this one specific issue first? Or what do you think that is?
Like Israel-Palestine or
Yeah,
bringing well, it's gonna be you have to find something
to rally
you have
people
yeah,
around.
yeah, you gotta find common ground to rally people behind. You're not just gonna bring people together.
And is that kinda what you're doing with Modern Exodus, this group that you're starting?
Yeah, on one front, we don't limit the modern exodus, and this is why we don't limit it to a certain demographic. So the modern exodus it's for men only. It's
Mm,
essentially a fraternity. Um, that's the only limitation we have. But we don't restrict religion, political affiliation, uh, sexual orientation. I don't know if we have any gay guys, but not that I know of. But like that 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 organization is about bringing men together
mm,
to create a cohort of men, a strong society of men that can then permeate throughout culture and society. Because I am a strong believer that the reason that we're in every situation is because of sin, the devil, and weak men.
mm,
And sin and the devil prey on weak men. And we have been filled with a society of weak men for so long that it allows these avenues of approach by evil organized men to take shape and take place and take control. And this is repetitive throughout history. This happened to the Roman Empire. This happened with the empire that Alexander the Great built.
mm.
Alexander the Great built an empire, and the largest empire in the ancient world. He conquered the known world before the age of 33. And then after his death, he died at 33. After his death, he had conquered everything. He had seized it all. And then shortly after his death, his two closest generals were the ones that allowed for its demise.
Mm,
They allowed for the empire to be fractured, and then they fought over the pieces of that empire. And so what happens, and this is repetitive, and we should understand history and analyze it and then use that going forward with what we're seeing today, because all we're seeing today is a repetition of history.
mm.
Where strong men build something. Why do strong men build something? To enable easy times. It goes back to that saying, um, hard times create strong men create easy times create weak men. So strong men rise up and they build something great to allow for easier times.
Hmm.
But then those easy times will create weaker men. And then those weaker men will lose the empire that was built by the strong men. And so that's all we're seeing today is a society of disenfranchised men. And there's been systems in place. It's not just all arbitrary.
Mhm.
There have been systems in place like porn, like gambling, like alcoholism, like degeneracy, like the
Dude,
destruction of the nuclear family.
we were talking about earlier, like streamers and stuff before we started the cameras. And dude, it's all fucking gambling, sports gambling, online gambling, like selling booze, like all this shit.
Yeah. So the whole premise of the modern exodus is to realize that we're in hard times because of weak men. So we need to strengthen men to
Mhm.
create easier times.
And so are y'all doing like, is it like monthly meetups? Like what's the structure of this?
So we have a Discord server, so we have an online portion of the Brotherhood, and then we have in-person elements as well. So we have a Discord server with around 1,800 total members. That's a mixture of paid members and free members.
Mm.
And then we have like 300 and some paying members. Uh, the paying members are paying for full membership to everything. And then we also have, I mean, what they get, why are they paying? Because it's an organization. We don't have crazy rich Jewish donors that are funding us. Nobody's funding us. My co-founder, Ian Went, and I are normal guys, just like all the other guys joining. So we need to fund the organization from within to
Mm.
crowdsource it. But we also brought on board 8 men that we call builders. So these 8 men, these builders, you can think of them as like coaches or mentors that teach a topic that is a core pillar of life to strengthen men up. So one guy named Nate, he teaches men how to get off of porn and defeat lust and addictions like doom scrolling, addictions to dopamine. So
Mm.
he trains and teaches and guides our men how to defeat all of those things because that's a huge thing, crushing men and making men apathetic and depressed and all these other things. And then we have Kawa. Kawa is a former Green Beret. He was a Marine in Fallujah, and then he became a Green Beret. And now what he does as a builder is he teaches men tactical training, personal protection, uh, We've done a few ranges with Kawa.
Mm,
We've taken our guys out to Texas to do ranges and one-on-one training with a Green Beret, and he teaches some TCCC as well. We have guys who teach men how to build up their credit, how to acquire financial acuity and financial literacy. We have all these different
nice.
pillars that we're bringing in to give
Yeah.
these guys as resources, and then we do have in-person meetups.
Okay.
So we have around 18 in-person chapters around the country.
Mhm.
So these are like there could be a chapter in Tennessee, let's say, if we had some members here in Nashville, which I think we do have a couple. But if we had like 10 members here in Nashville, one guy could step forward and say, I want to be the chapter president for Nashville.
Mhm.
The chapter gets founded, and then those 10 guys in Nashville meet up and they do their thing here in Nashville. And then we have quarterly retreats every quarter.
Okay, so have you thought about, because I feel like one of the most powerful things, especially for guys, is building a brand and like a microphone, like a voice, and having some type of impact out there. Have you thought about like kind of coaching these guys if they wanted to on like how to build a brand or how to build like a
Yeah.
presence, media
So
presence?
we do that. We offer that as well. There's a handful of guys who've started to get into content creation
Mm,
from joining the Modern Exodus, and they're doing pretty well. There's one guy who's up to like 3,000 followers. He started with like a couple hundred. So Ian Went, my co-founder, he teaches content creation and how to go viral and how to create a captivated audience, and how to sound captivating and compelling.
mm.
I touch on that a little bit.
What do you
Uh,
think's been the key for like your success, or one of the keys with your social media presence? Because you've grown a lot in just the past few years.
yeah, you have to be somebody that people want to follow.
Mm,
And that starts with what we're doing with the Modern Exodus. Like, you have to be a figure that people want to follow. And with the psychology of social media, there's many, like, if you want to talk about like the psychology of social media and how to build a following, and there's multiple types of followings. Uh, for lack of a better term, there's a cult-like following. Somebody like Andy Frisella,
mm.
dude, that guy has a cult-like following. He has, and I'm a part of First Form,
Mhm.
and I've been to their Summer Smash event. It
Those
is
look insane, dude.
they're awesome. You should go to the one next year. It
Yeah.
is well worth it.
Is it at their place in Utah? Or I mean, not
Missouri.
Missouri. Yeah.
Yeah, in St. Louis. But they have an amazing facility. It's like 3.5 days of events, but it attracts thousands of people, all from Andy Frisella's following,
Hmm.
because he has a cult-like following, but that's because Andy Frisella is a unique person.
Mm,
There's only a couple there's one Andy Frisella.
mhm,
I can't even say there's a couple men like him. There's one. There's one of those dudes. And those dudes only pop up every so often, like every few decades, an Andy Frisella is born. But Andy Frisella had to create himself. He was a loser, he was fat and out of shape, and an alcoholic, and a mess, and grew up in the slums of St. Louis.
mhm,
He had nothing going for him. He was a loser. He was a blimp on somebody. He wasn't even a blimp on somebody's radar. He was a gray man. And then he got in shape. He built a successful business. He disciplined his mind and his body and his spirit, and he turned himself into Andy Frisella.
mm,
I can't say he was born Andy Frisella. He turned himself into Andy Frisella, and therefore he became the type of men that other people want to follow.
mm,
So to build a following like that, you have to really build yourself up to be like an Alexander the Great, or somebody that somebody wants to follow. Or then you can make like, you know, entertaining content, solely entertaining content, where you're doing like
mhm.
comedy skits or, cool travel videos or whatever.
And
And
you're
at that,
kinda giving a service. I make you laugh, you follow me,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
that's the
Well, I mean, social media is sales in a way.
mm,
So you're selling yourself or something that you offer.
mm,
So laughter, information, novelty, skills. If you can teach something, like as a corpsman, you could teach stuff. Like doctors always have big followings because they talk about like
mm,
medical stuff. Finance people, like if you're um, like I don't know, investment banker or like a financial analyst, like you can give people tips on
mm.
finances, and they'll want to follow you for that information.
So with meeting, like, Andy, was that, like, another, like, cold outreach to Andy Frisella?
No, he followed me one day, and my partner who started the Modern Nexus with me, Ian, He's been a part of First Form for like 5 years, and he's known Andy for a while. So Andy followed me, and then shortly after that, Ian and I started the Modern Exodus, and Andy was on board right away. He's not officially involved, but he loves he loves the concept of what we're doing, and so
Nice.
he's helping us where he can.
Yeah, dude, did you getting out of the military, did you see your life playing out to where it is now? Like meeting these guys and like the culture and
No,
having this
no,
voice?
no, no.
It's crazy how that can happen.
Yeah, like some people that I grew up with, or like people I was in the military with, they come across my account and they're like, "Bro, what happened to you?" Like, I had no idea. That's crazy. But yeah, I did not foresee this being my life over 2 years ago.
It's crazy, man. It happens quick. Dude, I wanted to ask you, I saw you covered it the other day. So I have been intentionally kind of unplugging from current events because it's just fucking stressful right now. But the Tyler Robinson case, is that going on right now?
The preliminary hearing just ended like yesterday or 2 days ago.
Okay.
To be honest, I wasn't tracking it that deeply either. I saw some clips. I watched a couple videos of the hearing.
Because it seems like there's so many, like with the initial narrative, like all the shit they put out when it happened, there's so many inconsistencies. I don't see how they could actually do a fair trial and pull everything out and convict him.
No.
I mean, he's got to get convicted. There's no way they're letting that guy go.
Well, I think
But
I think they're gonna kill him.
really,
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're gonna kill him because I don't think they have the case they think or they wanted to have.
mm,
After when we and I was watching it loosely. During the hearing, it was a shit show for the prosecutors. Like, they did not have the evidence they wanted to have on Tyler Robinson. Um, the bullet fragment didn't match the weapon that he supposedly used. There were more fragments found on Charlie Kirk during the autopsy on him, which would suggest that some sort of residue or particle, uh, touched him,
mm,
not just a bullet, which my initial theory, like, very early on was that it was his mic
mhm.
that was set up to be a exploding device that had a projectile that would shoot him in the neck.
And who else has done really tiny explosives
Hmm.
in electronic devices? I feel like
I
it
have
was
to
really
think for a
recent.
second.
I don't
There's a
know.
small country in the Middle East, I think, did that once before.
Dude, and it's almost like a calling card because it was so recent that they did that pager attack.
Yeah, it was in 2024,
Yeah.
and then 2025, Charlie Kirk gets assassinated.
Because you've broken down the video and like there's been a lot of breakdowns. Like, dude, just the shirt movement does not make sense of having that mic kind of pointed perfectly right here.
Yeah, and listen to I've never killed anybody. I've never shot anybody in combat or anything like that. But from people who have killed a lot of people, I've heard them say that doesn't happen. When you shoot somebody, their shirt doesn't blow like that.
Mhm.
Like, listen to Rob O'Neill's breakdown. Rob O'Neill, supposedly the guy, he claims he's the one that killed bin Laden, although it's been disputed. Um, Either way, he's killed a lot of people. He was a SEAL Team 6 member. He's a subject matter expert in the space.
Mm,
He questions it heavily and says he's never seen something like that happen when he shoots somebody or when somebody gets shot. Like, your
mm.
shirt doesn't fly up like that. That's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
that's
Because,
not
like,
characteristic of an entry wound. That's
yeah.
characteristic of an exit wound when we saw the blood.
And like the wind was like blowing the back of his shirt too. Like it was all of this
Compression
energy.
in this portion, like this portion of his shirt and on the back, there was some sort of energy
Mhm.
expenditure inside his shirt. Like, that doesn't happen with a bullet that enters right here.
Mhm.
And again, this is not representative of an entry wound. That's what an exit wound looks like, because that compression from that energy coming from the bullet, right? The bullet is
Puts that
going
cavity
in,
right here.
puts a cavity, and then it has to come out somewhere. So that's why the blood spurted out right away, is
Yeah.
because that's what an exit wound looks like.
Yeah, and then can you look this up? The bomb factory that not a bomb factory, but the explosive factory that blew up in Tennessee. we were talking about this off camera, and yeah, it was like a month after whenever the stories were getting crossed, shit wasn't making sense. Accurate, let's see, Accurate Energetic Systems Manufacturing Plant. So yeah, this happened. Click the Wikipedia right there. So October 10th, 2025. When did Charlie Kirk get assassinated? It was September. It was like a month.
September like right before 9/11, September 10th.
Okay, yeah.
September 10th.
So almost an exact month afterwards, a series of explosions occurred at an Accurate Energetic Systems manufacturing facility in Tennessee, killing 16 people and injuring 7. The facility was used to manufacture, store, and research high explosives for the Department of Defense and various other customers. So, yeah, looking into this, they specialize in high explosives, in small charges, in varying sizes. And it just 1 month exactly after he gets assassinated from potentially a device that would have come from this facility. It blows up.
Yeah. And there was some dot connected with Pete Hegseth's plane and Erica Kirk being allowed on that plane. Did you see that?
No.
So I I I only saw this in a video, so I haven't looked into it myself on the validity of this story, but apparently Erica Kirk was on Pete Hegseth's flight around that time, and they flew to um, that part of Tennessee.
Really?
Mhm.
That's fucking crazy.
Again, I don't know uh, the details on that. I'm just saying that I did hear that. It was Stu Peters who reported on that.
Dude, and you think, I mean, the CIA, Israel, whoever, they've been doing assassinations for so long. You think they would have made this airtight. Like instead of the
I feel like they've
shitty
been doing it
story
for
that
so long, they just get sloppy.
yeah,
And they know they get away with it, so they can be sloppy.
because they control the institutions. Like I was reading something today, I don't know the details, like the judge released some kind of documents in the case that would have tainted the jury. Like they either kill him or intentionally taint this jury, like because they know, yeah, there's gonna be no accountability.
Yeah. I think they're gonna kill
Hmm.
um, Tyler Robinson, because I don't think they have the evidence they need to convict him,
Yeah,
and
because
that's
what
what
was
they want. They want him dead. If he was the patsy,
Mhm,
the person that made him the patsy, they need him to die. They need him to be dead. Same thing happened with Lee Harvey Oswald,
mhm,
right? So I think before it goes to trial, they're going to kill Tyler Robinson, and they're going to blame it on whoever or say it was a suicide,
mm,
because what happened at the end of the preliminary hearing, after it wrapped up, like yesterday or 2 days ago, there was a bunch of TPUSA backed influencers like Brandon Tatum and a couple other influencers who were invited to the preliminary hearing.
mhm,
They went there. And what they said when it wrapped up, they all got interviewed or they posted on their own pages that there was a video that was shown at the end of the hearing that was a slam dunk for the prosecution. It was a slam dunk because the video was a zoomed in high definition video of Tyler Robinson getting on the roof, putting his rifle together, crawling into the prone position, piecing it together, and firing the shot and then running off.
mhm,
And they say that it was zoomed in, it was high definition enough that they could actually see the characteristics on his face and even see like details of his shirt. And it's a video zoomed in allegedly of Tyler Robinson taking the shot, and they're all spewing the same script, the same exact script. But what they said was that the court didn't want that video to be public. The judge only wanted to show that video in the courtroom,
hmm.
in the hearing. So the
Maybe
public,
that's what I read.
yeah, so the public, so apparently this video exists according to all the TPUSA influencers that were there at the hearing,
Mhm,
but nobody else has seen it. And there's other people who were at the hearing, like uh, less influential names that aren't TPUSA, who are saying that never happened.
hmm.
So you can't prove or deny that that video exists because, well, they won't show it to us.
Yeah. Dude, and with like AI, that's where shit's gonna get
with
weird.
AI.
Like, AI videos are so realistic, like, you're not gonna be able to fucking believe anything.
Yeah, I mean, they hypothetically, they could doctor something up, or maybe it just doesn't exist at all
Yeah.
because, uh, the defense attorney asked the one of the police officers who was testifying.
Mhm.
She point blank asked him, "Is there any," and this was days ago before this alleged video, this damning video came out. She point blank asked him, "Is there any footage that was collected of Tyler Robinson discharging a round from the rifle?" And the cop, under oath, said no. That video, there is no video of Tyler Robinson taking a shot.
Mm.
And then at the end of the hearing, all these TPUSA influencers are saying that, oh, yes, there is a video actually, and they only showed it to us. Trust me, bro, they only
Dude,
showed it to us,
and
but
it's
it
crazy
exists.
because those are paid propagandists.
Yeah.
Like, definition, paid propagandists.
Yes, they're literally paid by TPUSA.
Can you look up Tyler Robinson's rifle? Because that's another thing. They're saying he took it apart and then put it back together, but then the picture they gave us was like a single body, like polymer rifle. And
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
also if you take an optic off of a weapon system like that, you have to re-BZO it.
yeah, you're gonna
It's
lose your
totally,
zero.
yeah, it's the zero is totally off. Also, it's a 30-06. That thing
Yeah,
would have
this. And then in the videos too, which is looks like a completely different guy. If you're listening, if you go watch the supposed security camera footage of the guy climbing up on the roof, looks nothing like Tyler Robinson. But they're saying that he hid this single piece rifle in his pants leg, but he's walking upstairs and there's no printing. No, that's impossible. That's not happening.
Yeah, there's people who've tried to recreate it, but what they do is they take the barrel off of the lower receiver of the stock, so it's the barrel and the scope in one piece, in one pant leg,
Mhm.
and then it's the stock in the other pant leg, and they when they do it, the rifle comes up to, like, here, so you gotta put it over your shirt, so you'd be able to see it telegraphing through your shirt,
Mhm.
and then he, like, waddled his way up on the roof, put it back together with the BZO completely off, took one pinpoint shot right at Charlie's neck and shot it with a 30-06.
Yeah.
A 30-06 would have blew his head smooth off.
Yeah, none of it makes sense, man. And dude, I feel like propaganda is a crazy thing and trust in institutions. Like we had somebody on the show previously, he was a Navy SEAL sniper. And again, like not talking about anybody, but they entertained the idea that it was possible that the 30-06 round went right through because he knew someone who had been shot in the neck and it had gone clean through. But it's just that takes a lot of faith in the government and in the institution and their narrative.
Yeah.
You know, it takes a larger leap of faith to believe everything they're telling us than to be open to the possibility of like what we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe they're lying.
Yeah.
But people don't wanna ask that question because of MAGA, because of Israel, because of,
Yeah, because the
Christian
second you do,
Zionism.
you're like, oh, well, you're against Charlie Kirk. You're against
Yeah,
MAGA.
yeah.
Like, it's crazy how you get lumped in.
Yeah, you say, and dude, I can't stand that. When you try to ask a simple logical question and then people reduce what you say down to the most extreme. Like if I say, if and this has happened, where I question Zionist Israel on genociding Palestinians, which is objective and clear and happened right before my face. Okay. I question that. And then people take that and say, oh, so you're the second coming of Hitler. You just want to kill all the Jews, don't you? Right. So if you question certain things, even though it makes sense to question them, they will slap ad hominems on you and make you out to be a crazy person or make you out to be a hateful person just to shut you up.
Yep.
They do the same thing with anti-Semitism. So that's a cry wolf that they've used for everything. If you criticize Israel, wow, you're an anti-Semite. You hate all Jews, right? That's not what I said at all.
Yep.
I just said Zionism is committing a genocide in Gaza.
Well, and we know it's not really about genocide because it's like, okay, if we're looking at World War II, all the Holocaust history, all this stuff you're telling us, if genocide is really bad, we can all agree genocide is bad.
Yeah.
That genocide is bad. Okay, well, then this genocide is also bad. But then, yeah, they slander you for even calling it a genocide. It's like, okay, so now if we're all being clear, it's not really about genocide.
Yeah, as soon as you start to ask good questions or bring up good points, they shut you down by discrediting your character.
Hmm.
calling you an anti-Semite, calling you a racist, calling you a bigot, calling you
Dude, and
you hate America.
I feel like it's like that BLM era of, like, calling everybody a racist, like, it's losing its power.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause the
Calling somebody an anti-Semite carries no weight
No,
anymore.
dude. Yeah, we can thank Kanye as a big leader in that too.
Yeah, like the Overton window has shifted so far over. 10 years ago, if somebody called you an anti-Semite, your life was over.
Yeah.
Like, that's the last thing a racist or an anti-Semite was the last thing you wanted to be called. Now, they could just anti-Semite, 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 you're an anti-Semite. Okay, whatever. I guess everybody's an anti-Semite if you question Israel at all. The word carries no weight anymore.
Yeah, especially when you can clearly see, like, the genocide and, like, these war crimes that are happening, and it's like, "Okay, dude, you guys are bullshitting everybody," and I can dude, I had this clear moment when I realized this Overton window was really shifting because 'cause we're in the South, right? And I was taking a walk around my neighborhood, and, this older lady, I don't know, like a boomer, was walking by the other side of the street, and we had, like, said hello or something, and she's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I live right up here." And I forgot how the conversation shifted into it, but it shifted into, like, what's happening in, like, Israel and Gaza. And this, like, boomer Southern mom is like, "Yeah, like, Israel," like, talking shit about Israel and, like, the genocide. And I'm like, "What, dude? What is
Yeah.
this?" But it's just, it's shifting.
Yeah. I mean, and then you muddy the waters with what is a person who's just genuinely critical of Israel's genocide and corruption of American politics. There's that person. But then you do have people who literally just hate all Jews. Those people exist.
Mm,
But what they're doing is they're lumping them all into one group. So you
mm,
muddy the waters. So now you have legitimate people who legitimately hate all Jews in the same box as somebody who's just saying committing genocide is wrong.
yeah.
And so you're distorting all of that.
Dude, does it get stressful, like, creating content on current events and all this stuff so much? Or, like, is it just heavy or no?
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely yeah, it's taxing mentally.
Because, like, dude, Alex Jones, I don't know how that dude has done what he's done for so long. That seems so stressful.
It's just
Like,
insane.
I'm glad he
It's
does
the
it, but
definition of insanity.
yeah, dude, I couldn't imagine every day just being pissed off and, like, trying to blow the whistle on all this.
Well, the church fathers speak about this, and I've heard other, like, modern day priests speak on this. A lot of priests, when the Epstein files came out, were telling their parishioners to not look at them.
Really?
I heard even, I believe Father Moses said something to that extent of it's poisonous to our soul. There's nothing edifying in it to look into that evil because
Mhm,
that's gonna make you bitter. It's gonna make you angry.
mhm,
It's going to, um, it's gonna shake you up in a way that you don't need to be shaken up in. And politics is much that way. That's the political realm. And I don't even like politics. I don't even like saying that I'm a political content creator. I don't like that. I don't want that label.
mhm.
I don't even view myself as that. When I started making content on these topics, I started making content on the genocide of Palestinians.
Right.
It was just, oh, there's this group of people getting genocided. I want to speak up about it. I never got in this to like, I don't want to run for office. I've got no ambition for that.
Mhm,
I don't like the political spectrum. I don't like having to argue with leftists or MAGA influencers. I don't like that. It's very taxing on you mentally. It drives you to a bitter place. You can become angry and despondent at times, which we're called to stay away from despondency,
mhm. And
right?
I've noticed a shift from kind of watching your content of putting more energy focusing on Orthodox specific content. Do you feel
Yeah.
like you're making that pivot, or are you trying to still do both?
Well, I'll continue to do both. Um, like if I had it my way, I would just make Orthodox content.
Yeah.
But there seems to be always something pulling me back that I can't like I gotta talk about, like the Charlie Kirk stuff or whatever.
Dude, we're living through, like, a major crisis every 6 months. Like, major shit's happening so
Yeah, it's like
quickly.
2020.
Yeah.
It's just like the craziness of 2020 is 2025 and 2026.
Mhm.
Like there's always something crazy happening. War with Iran, Charlie Kirk getting assassinated, genocide in Gaza, genocide in Lebanon. There's always something. Epstein file. This is always something, right?
Yeah.
Um, so with that, like And I've talked to multiple priests about this with the nature of my work of not getting sucked into that world too much
Mm.
because I don't want to. Like I said, if I could have it my way, I would just make Orthodox content.
So how do you keep yourself detached? Because I mean, obviously, when you're making this content, you're speaking with conviction and with emotion. But how do you not get sucked into that anger, that bitterness? Because you're covering a lot of heavy topics, a lot of frustrating topics.
Oh, I do at times. There's human emotions at play. Like, my godfather is Palestinian.
Mm.
He's a Palestinian Christian, has lived in Palestine his whole life. And I have a fundraiser in the West Bank where I uh, collect donations and uh, help people in the West Bank with food, medical bills, clothing, whatever. Right. So I have emotional ties to it because my godfather's there. I've been there. I have friends there. I have people that I've visited who are going through tremendous hardship that I feel for.
Mm.
So I have my heart is being pulled in that direction a bit. So I've got some emotional ties to it. So yeah, it's going to make me emotional, whether that's sad, angry, upset, despondent, whatever. Um, so that's inevitable. But you kind of have to try to manage it. And then you have the flip side where you get the hate, you get the death threats.
Have you
I've
gotten a lot of that making this content?
Yeah, I've had the death threats, I've had the hate, I've had the people questioning my character, I've had the people slandering me, lying about me, sending random suspicious packages to my door. I had somebody come to my apartment and lure me outside.
Really?
Yeah,
What happened with that?
dude, this was the day. This was the day after Charlie Kirk got killed. The FBI showed up at my house.
What?
Yeah.
What happened? Why were they there?
So about I don't know, a week or 2 before Charlie Kirk got assassinated, and this was in a slew of incidences, at my apartment. I was getting random packages mailed to me that I didn't order, had my name and my address and everything, all my information on the packages, and it was, like, random stuff.
There's just
Somebody
Talmuds and all these.
Yeah, somebody sent me a Talmud.
Oh, dude.
So, I thought it wasn't a Talmud, I thought it was a Talmud, it was this book. It was this book that was all in Hebrew.
Mm.
It looked like a nice religious, like, a Torah or Talmud or something, and, I opened it, I can't read it, it's in Hebrew, so I used Google Translate, and it's a Jewish prayer book. And I couldn't really make out what it said, I just knew it was a prayer book, and it was all in Hebrew, but it got sent to my apartment, and it had my name on it, it had my address, like, it wasn't a mistake, it was sent to me, I didn't order it,
That's crazy.
and then I had another package that was stoplights, like little stoplights for a scooter signifying, like, stop what
Mm.
you're doing.
And you don't have your address, like, public.
No, of course not. No. So somehow they pulled my address and information and they were sending and it was from multiple senders
Mm.
because they were coming from multiple locations, and I had another one that was really weird and random, and so I got these weird packages.
And so is this why the FBI showed up, or?
Getting to that.
Yeah.
So I had these weird packages coming to my apartment, for a number of weeks, and then because I was, like, r getting really suspicious of these packages, and I didn't wanna open them, I didn't know if they were, like, laced with fentanyl or something,
Mm.
like, who knows, is the Unabomber gonna get me or the package bomber?
Yeah.
Um, and one day so I'm on edge because these packages this is about 2 weeks before Charlie gets killed. Somebody or I get a call. I'm home, middle of the day, at home, doing my thing, work from home. I get a call on my phone, and I don't recognize the number, so I answer it, and the guy says, "Hey, this is the UPS driver. I have a package for you that I tried to bring to your place, but it needs to be signed for. And I knocked and nobody was there. So I have it in my truck and I'm still in your neighborhood if you want to come get it." And I'm like, okay. And I order stuff all the time. It could be something that I ordered. So I'm like, let me go investigate. So he's on the phone with me and I'm like, okay, where are you at? And he says, I'm in the mail truck just down the street from you. I'm parked right next to the grocery store. And there's a grocery store a couple blocks down. And so I walk out of my apartment. I walk out into the street to go see where he's at. I'm still on the phone with him. And, he tells me I'm in the mail truck by by the grocery store a couple blocks away. So I go out into the street and I look over and I see the truck and it's got his blinkers on. He's right next to the grocery store. So I'm like, oh, I see you. I'm going to come over right now. So I hang up and I walk 2 blocks. Mind you, I've just walked out of my apartment. So it's empty now. And I walk the 2 blocks and I go up to the truck and I I go up to the window and I say to the driver, I'm like, hey, I'm the guy you were just on the phone with. You said you had a package of mine that I needed to sign for, so I just came to pick it up. And he's like, "What are you talking about, man?" And I'm like, I'm the guy you called for the package that you needed to sign for." He's like, "I didn't call you." He's like, "I don't call people, man. I just deliver packages." And I'm like, I was like, we just weren't, we
Yeah.
were both confusing each other. And I was like, dude, you literally just like, do you have short term memory? Like you literally, like 5 seconds ago, we were on the phone. You said you had a package. He's like, man, somebody must be pranking you. And then a light bulb went off. I'm like, bro, somebody just lured me out of my apartment
Oh, shit.
because I had just received all those suspicious packages like weeks before that. It's like one week after the other, I was getting a weird package. And then now somebody's calling me saying they're a driver and they had to be in the area because they had to have known that that driver
Mhm.
was there right next to the grocery store.
Yep.
So they were there surveying me and they watched me come out of my apartment and walk away. So I don't know if they were trying to plant something, take pictures of me. I don't know what the deal was. But then the reason the FBI came to my apartment the day after Charlie got shot was after that, I was pissed. I was like, I'm getting all these damn packages. Somebody's like sending me weird stuff. I don't know. They could be lacing it with something. And then somebody just lured me out of my apartment. Now I'm pissed.
Mhm.
And so I've got connections too. Like whatever connections they have to find me, I've got connections to find them. So let me go. And I'm pissed, you know? So I go back in my apartment and I start reaching out to like contractors that I know, people who have access to the databases. So I have his phone number. I don't have anything else. I don't have his name, but I have a phone number. So I go to some people that I know who can locate people.
Mhm.
And so I give them the phone number and they do their thing and they get back to me with everything. Social, phone number, name, address, birthday, place of employment, everything. And so I'm pissed off and I decide because I feel endangered.
Yeah.
Like somebody's messing with me. I don't know if it's the same person who sent me the packages and then lured me out. Like I feel I have to take action
Mhm.
at this point. So I make a post. I make a reel and I post it on Instagram and I don't put any like damning information. I didn't put his social. I didn't put his address, but I gave him enough to let him know I had something.
Mhm.
So I said his first name, just like let's just call him Jason. I'm like, "What's up, Jason? So you recently called me and lured me out of my apartment saying you were a delivery driver. Well, I've got connections too." And then I rattled off numbers that only he would know. I didn't rattle off the full number, but I gave like the last four of his phone number
Mhm.
and the county that he lived in and all this information to let him know that I had information on him too.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're going to make an apology video. You're going to get on your knees and you're going to make a video apologizing for what you did. And you're going to tell everybody your name. And if you don't do it in the next 24 hours, I'm posting a picture of your house on my story. And so I posted it.
Mhm.
I was pissed, bro. I had to do something. So, and again, I didn't dox him. I
Yeah.
didn't give any personal information out. I just sent that message. And then a few days after that, Charlie got shot. And then that whole thing happened, which wasn't correlated. But the day after Charlie got shot, I get a knock on my door and I go to the front door and it's two dudes standing there in like 5'11" pants and like button ups. And I open the door and they're like, hey, we're so and so with the FBI. And I'm like, what did I do? Like, and I was kind of nervous. I'm like, did I say something?
Mhm.
Did Israel finally give them the call? Like, and this is right after Charlie just got shot and killed. And so they tell me, hey, we had a anonymous caller call and say that somebody was in trying to come after you or trying to dox you or something. Somebody off of Instagram called the FBI and told them
Dude, what?
some anonymous, like, I don't know if it was a follower or if it was a hater, I don't know who, but they're like, hey, this guy, the real Clyde on Instagram, Um, he, uh, he's getting some weird packages sent to his place, and somebody lured him out of his apartment, so they came to check on me. And I don't know
That's
how they
crazy.
yeah,
Now you have a file with the FBI.
yeah. And so they were just asking me questions on the whole situation, and they're like, "Did you say anything to upset him?" They're trying to figure out if I had any enemies, and I'm like, "I mean, Israel, but other than that," I didn't say that, but I can't think of specific names. And so
So was this guy in DC that was mailing this shit, or was
he's
it a
in
different?
Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So did you, like, find out, like, find a picture of this guy, like, what he looked like, or, like
No, but I had everything else.
that's crazy. So did it stop after
It
that?
stopped after that. I haven't gotten any more weird so maybe it was all him
Damn, dude.
because I haven't gotten any more weird packages and nobody trying to lure me out of my apartment anymore.
So what's the future look like for Clyde? Like, what are you focusing on right now? What is the next steps?
I mean, the basic and corny answer is I'm focusing on working out my salvation with fear and trembling. That's, ultimately, the main pursuit, that should be everybody's main pursuit, right? And that's the message I wanna get across is theosis should be the main pursuit, but, working out how to do that with everything else that I have, coupling that with my work, the nature of my work, travel, business, juggling, the modern exodus, and that's dude, if if I put all my time and energy into the modern exodus, it'd still take all my time. So I'm a very busy person, travel, do these podcast tours. Um, but ultimately I want to get the ultimate message that I want to get across is there's a lot of people going down rabbit holes lately, and there's a lot of people searching for truth. And they're gonna, once you enter the rabbit hole, there's a lot of crevices, a lot of tunnels, a lot of routes that you can take. And I don't know if I coined this saying, but I say it frequently that at the bottom, at the end of the rabbit hole is two things. You can take as many routes as you want and find as many gems and secrets as you want on anything. But ultimately, at the end of the rabbit hole is the devil and the Orthodox Church.
Hmm.
As far as you can dig, you can find, things on Charlie Kirk, things on Israel, things on Freemasonry, things on 9/11, the Lavon affair, the USS Liberty, anything you want, right?
But behind all of it, the
But
driving.
behind all of it, the driving factor at the very end of the rabbit hole is Satan and the Orthodox Church.
Hmm.
And that goes for any Protestant, Mormon, Catholic, Buddhist, Muslim, atheist. Those are the two, uh, if you will, power structures, because there is a power structure.
Hmm.
As the scriptures say, we do not fight flesh and blood, but powers and principalities.
Hmm.
Right. So ultimately, like and I did this when I was in high school, when I first started going down the rabbit hole. And I can say this for somebody who's been in the rabbit hole for over a decade. And I've gone down a lot of routes. You're trying to find the answer. And when I was in high school, I was trying to find out who is at the top of this pyramid,
Hmm.
who's pulling the strings. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Well,
Yeah.
I think I got to I did get to the bottom of the rabbit hole. And ultimately, the one pulling the strings is Lucifer. It's Satan, right? Because he is the God of this world and he is influencing people. Everything that you see everything evil that you see proceeds from sin and the devil,
Hmm.
right? And he is the Lord of lies. Lucifer is the great deceiver. He is like a hungry lion prowling, seeking to devour us. And so his ultimate goal is to turn mankind away from God, just like he did in the Garden of Eden. Human beings were created in a different state before the fall. And so what he did was he was able to get them to corrupt that state and their union that they had with God at that time. Like Christ walked in the garden with Adam and they could speak to God. And then Satan came to corrupt that because he was jealous of mankind. Lucifer was an angel in heaven. And he was, said to be one of the most beautiful angels in heaven. And then he saw mankind, and he saw the love that God had for his creation, and God exalted man over the angelic realm. Like, we are sons and daughters, heirs to the kingdom. He exalted human mankind, this creation, over the angels, and Lucifer didn't like that, and ultimately it was pride that ended up in Lucifer's fall and him being cast out of heaven. And then from that point on, when Lucifer was cast out of heaven, it has been his pursuit and his goal to turn God's creation away from God. And he started by doing that with Adam and Eve in the garden. And then from that point on, he will do everything in his power to turn mankind away from union with God, which is what God created us for, that pursuit theosis.
Mm.
You know, God became man so that man may become God, lowercase g, that pursuit of theosis, to share in the divine nature of God. And Satan does not want that. So all of these pursuits, whether you see it coming from Israel or Freemasonry or secularism or degeneracy or this cult or that cult or this religion or that religion, all of it is a distortion from the devil and sin to corrupt mankind and pull us away from God.
Yeah, and I think the first step is opening people's eyes to that, to seeing like what the game really is.
Yeah,
Because then once you see that, you can cleave unto God. Like you understand, like all of these things are terrible, but you understand that's the nature of why this is happening.
exactly. That's where it all proceeds from. So when people are looking for like the end of the rabbit hole and they think they found it with Israel or Zionism or rabbinic Judaism or the Democrats or MAGA or secularism
Mm.
or Islam, right? They think that this is the head of the hierarchical matrix, right? This is the head of the hierarchy of the matrix. I found it. It's Lucifer, and it's also sin. Um, so I don't think people are really going to understand the scope of what's going on until they reach that point. And there's a lot of people now questioning everything and even questioning like Protestantism, Catholicism, Mormonism, everything, and they're finding the church.
Yep. Well, I think that's a great place to end it, brother, is focusing on Christ, focusing on the church. And I'm glad there's people out there like you that are in this new generation or younger generation, like being a voice and inspiring other people to speak up on these things. Because it's not easy.
No,
Like you're not doing it for, like, a lot of people are not going to like you. Like you're not doing it to be popular. Like it's not the easy thing to do. The easy thing to do is to sell gambling ads and make
which I've been
brain
offered.
rot.
Yeah, I've been offered a lot of money from those companies. Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't. There's no amount of money you could offer me to make me do something I don't want to do.
Well, amen to that, brother. Clyde, thanks for coming on, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye, everybody.